The best time for you to set your vibration for the day is right when you wake up in the morning. The first, I'd say, 30 to 60 minutes of your day powerfully impacts your whole vibe, how you feel and how you show up in the world. And when you raise your vibration right when you wake up in the morning, you'll find that people respond to you in a more pleasing way. You'll find that things just happen in a more smooth way and you're able to actually respond rather than react. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you my updated morning routine, high vibe morning routine, what I do every single day right when I get up in the morning and how that primes me for my day. And I really say it too, what you do in the morning impacts the rest of your day, but what you do consistently every single day compounds over time. So it's almost like a double whammy there because your vibration is consistently being up ramped every day and it compounds. So first thing I do every single day is actually starts the night before, to be honest with you. By the way, I'm in my new house in Sedona. The room has such a cool vibe. The first thing I do every day is I praise my higher self. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. But this, my higher self painting, which I think is super cool. Looks, it's got a certain energy to it. I love it. And in general though, before I go to bed at night, one of the things I highly recommend you guys do is set an intention for your next day and set the intention to remember your dreams, because your dreams are showing you subconscious representations of different energies that you are working through in your life. So last night I had some very powerful dreams, some of which had to do with releasing old, it's gonna sound kind of, I don't know if I wanna share it, well maybe I will. So I had dreams last night that made me aware that I felt abandoned earlier in childhood. I felt abandoned, and I can see now how a lot of the relationships that I've attracted in my life have this fear that if I'm not being a people pleaser, if I'm not being a certain way, then people might leave me. And I never knew where that came from, but last night in my dreams, it was shown to me very clearly. And I then became aware, of course, my parents were divorced, and I viewed it a certain way as a kid, even though I don't view it that way now. But before I go to bed at night, I set the intention to remember my dreams every single night before I go to bed. And what that does is it helps me prime my mind for the different energies I'm working through. But also I set the intention to have a very clear and to have a very focused next day. So I set the intention that I would get up in the morning and make a banger video. Okay, so here I am making a banger video on that of YouTube. And by the way, can you like this video if you want me to make more vlog style videos? Also, just give it a high vibrational like just in general. I want to start putting more energy into YouTube. But if I see that like, then I'm gonna know, hey, people want this. Give people what they want, you know what I mean? So, okay, that's what I do every morning. First thing I do is, I also, while I'm laying in bed, one thing I do is I lay down, and as I'm waking up, I put my hands over my heart, and I think of a couple things I'm grateful for. The gratitude in the heart, and they call this Heart Math Institution, I think it's called, it's heart coherence. It increases the energy inside of the body of the heart. Another hack I do before I go to bed at night is I literally feel the emotions of what I want to create in my life. And I imagine that that's my identity. That's my identity, not just oh, it's so cool, I have a quadrillion dollars and all this stuff. No, it's natural for me to be living in the abundance I am, but also for me to be doing what I love. And when it's natural, it's like your identity starts to link up. So I do that before I go to bed at night. It primes me to have a great morning right when I wake up. Then what I do is I come over here. So this is my bathroom, by the way, guys. I just want to show you guys. You guys want to see something cool? Look at this. Oh yeah, you can't. Okay, it's a backlit mirror. I don't know why this is so exciting to me, but it is. Home renovations. So, okay. So one thing I had put, this is the closet, which I am super excited about. I had it made recently. So I had them put a meditation station in my closet. Why do I like to meditate in my closet? I don't know, but I've been doing it since 2012. It's like a small space and there's something about it. So this is what I do. Now, also I use these things called breathe right strips before I go to bed at night. I find that these help a lot, just open up the nose so that I sleep better. This is what I do for meditation. Every single day I meditate. I know how to light this thing with my index finger. There we go. With my index finger, not my thumb. Because I burnt my thumb on a pan when I was cooking the other day, like a week ago, and I haven't been able to use it since until it heals. Anyways, side note. Okay, so, this is what I do for for meditation. Meditation, this is the next thing that I do every single day. I've done it since 2012. It has changed my life more than anything else. What I do is for a couple minutes a day, I stare at a candle flame. I know it sounds boring. It's not the most exciting thing, but here's what happens. When your eyes are focused on one spot, so if I focus on this flame in one spot, even you can do it right now too. What you'll notice is that when your eyes don't wander, your mind doesn't wander. And then what I do is I focus on my breath on the inside, and I breathe in and out. And I observe my thoughts as they come into my head. I don't try to control them. The more you control, the more resistance you infuse. I just allow them to come in and go out. And as I watch them, as I'm a watchful observer, and as I'm putting the awareness inside of my body, my mind starts to calm down. Then what I do is I'm able to respond rather than react. Now, I do this for probably about 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes only 5 minutes, but I do it every single morning no matter what. I observe my thoughts, and I just look at the candle flame, and I soften my face. I soften my gaze. And this has been the most life-changing thing I've ever done because it's helped me become more aware of different patterns in my life that I was kind of unaware of before. So meditate gets you, it's what I call a neutrality practice. When you have a neutrality practice, anytime I say a P, the thing move. Oh man, it moves when I do that. Okay, but the idea is a neutrality practice is something that you do that helps you neutralize your mind so that you're not in reaction mode. When people wake up and all they do is they pull out their phone, boom, they're then in reaction mode, like, oh my God, Stacy posted on Instagram. Oh my God, that person did this. Oh my goodness, reaction. Oh my God, the count has gone up. Oh, then it's like, it's even more of that reaction state. So one thing I do every single day is I meditate 5 to 10 to 15 minutes a day minimum. It has been one of the, here's another thing. It's been a game changer. This right here is my dream journal, okay? I write down my dreams so that I don't, because then I always remember them. I'm able to go back and kind of like tap into the memories. But I write down my dreams every night. And then what that does is that primes me so that I remember my dreams in the morning. So that's been an absolute game changer as well, is the dream journaling, becoming aware of the subconscious mind. Now, after I do those two things, I actually do something over here. So what I do is I come into this little thing right over here, and this is my cold shower. So I turn this thing on, and what happens is it's super cold because I'm in Sedona now, and I take a cold shower, probably like 2 or 3 minutes. I have a cold plunge I'm getting ready to get set up. It's a little freezer that's been jerry-rigged. That's going to go right outside here. Let me show you guys. This is my full bedroom, by the way, just to show you guys. And then look at that. That's the outside. That's Sedona. Okay. Now the cold plunge is going right over here. And guys, look at that. Isn't that dope? I got that from Mexico. Anyways, so what I do is every single I do the cold plunge. After the cold plunge, what I do is I come and I actually do this when there's sunlight. Okay. I read this recently on a podcast. This is new in my morning routine. But what I do is I take off my shirt, and even though it's cold out, it's honestly very cold. And what I do is I come out here and I stand in the sun, and I have the sun come on my face. Never mind. I have the sun come on, and what I do is I just kind of like relax my face, and I take off my shirt because then I'm absorbing more sun. I would assume that the more skin you have, the more you absorb the sun like a sponge. You know what I mean? And then I stand out here for like probably 5 minutes. And it's kind of cold, but if you have the sun, you're okay. The benefits of the sun, right when you wake up in the morning, this is what happens. You're going to sleep better at night. Why are you going to sleep better at night? Because when the sun activates and gets on your face, when the sun comes on your face, what happens is you are then in a more relaxed, it actually activates different things to where you start to produce, I think, serotonin or something, or it's like you wake up more. And then when you go to bed at night, you sleep better. So I was actually listening to podcasts on how to sleep, how to get really deep sleep, because I've been getting like 8.5 hours of sleep, which is really good. But sometimes if it's harder to get that much sleep, what I do is I went in some podcasts and they said get sun right when you wake up in the morning. It will help you. It'll activate your body. It'll help you feel more awake, give you more energy. And you also get like energy and coats from the sun. I know that sounds esoteric, but there's a lot of research that shows how beneficial the sun is and the energy of the sun. So that's something I do then. Then what I do is if I don't have that, I use something like this. I'll show you guys. This is the hallway. These are my little geodes from the Vegas house. I moved, here. This is the podcast room, by the way. Just show you guys in case you haven't seen. I have some things coming over here. This thing right here, red light therapy. Basically what I do is I turn this puppy on, and it's also bright. It'll also come on your face. And what you do is you just kind of relax, and same thing. Same thing. It wakes you up. You feel super energized, and it's amazing. Now, one of the other things I want to share with you, here's something else that I do. I'm just going to share with you guys everything I do. All right. Now, I come over here, and one thing I do is I try not to go on my computer for the first half an hour of a day. Now, sometimes I'll film, and I'm, filming with my iPhone. But one thing that I will do as well is in the mornings, I do something called intermittent fasting. Fasting I found to be a very powerful spiritual practice for me. It also helps when you put food in your body then has to create energy to break that down. So one thing that I do is, I got this really cool refrigerator. I'm not trying to flex too much right now, but this fridge right here, it was like the thing I was most excited about. What I do is I drink something. This is my fridge right here. Now I know some of this stuff, some people are letting me know, hey, that has fluoride in it. That's okay, I'm not drinking it anymore, but now it looks cool in my fridge. This right here does not have fluoride. This is from Whole Foods called the Mountain Valley. It's sparkling water. I drink this, it blunts appetite. So try sparkling water. Sometimes what I do is I mix a little bit of the lemon and the lime, and I find that to be something very, very tasty, just really good. Now here's another thing I do. So I drink that in the morning, normally until about 1 when I break my fast. One of the most important things that I recommend anybody do in the morning is, you guys want to know what it is? Something you are passionate about. Either reading, take some time for yourself, and make sure that you do something that is getting you not towards the identity that you prefer to be, but like I'm making a video. This is going to add to my vision of me helping more and more people wake up to more of who they are. So do something you are passionate about. If you have a 9-to-5 job you hate, I did too. I sold women's shoes. I hated it. And then what I did is I made videos in the morning, and then when I started making that my dominant vibration, that eventually became my dominant reality. You have to treat your part-time hustle as your full-time for it to become your full-time. That's what I've learned. So that's something else that I do. And doing your passion, remember, what you do every single day compounds over time. Do what you're passionate about. Don't know what it is? Set the intention to figure out what it is. The more you set intentions, the more you will get a reflection of what that could be. So that's something that I do too. I make a video every day, or I film a podcast episode almost every day. I make some type of content every day. I might come over to my whiteboard. I might write some things on it. I might make a little IGTV episode, but I get into the flow state. Find your flow state. Maybe that's painting. Maybe that's creating art, whatever it is.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. These 7 rituals that I'm about to share with you, some of them are kind of weird, but they work for me. When it comes to us raising our vibration to another level, understand that there are certain rituals you can do, certain daily habits you do that either keep boundaries around you and keep your vibration high, get you in the pattern of releasing things that no longer serve, and make it so that you're in the highest vibration possible, which means you're feeling more joy, peace, love, and as a result, you experience a reality that is equal to that. You'll notice more opportunities come into your life. You'll notice that you'll have more magnetic energy. It affects every area of your life. And these are the 7 rituals that I personally have that somewhat embarrassing, but nonetheless, I want to share them with you so you can get an inside look as to what my day is like to stay in high vibration. Now in this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you those 7 rituals that help me raise my vibration and stay there. And I'm not just gonna tell you about it, I'm actually going to show you about it. We ain't just gonna do it, we're gonna be about it, all right? Who wants to be about it? If you wanna be about it, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. I make more videos like this every single week, 3 times a week. Maybe I'll go more. Maybe if this video gets enough likes, I'll go more daily like I used to back in the day. Now, first off, what does it mean to have high vibration? Before I show you, I want to just kind of like share this scale of consciousness right here. You'll see at the bottom, you'll see shame, fear, guilt, anger. Then eventually you see neutrality. Then you see reasoning, which is the intellect of the mind, and then joy, peace, enlightenment at the top. Now, the key to us raising our vibration is letting go. Our vibration is naturally high. Your vibration is naturally high. In 2012, when I went through my awakening, I went through a massive process of letting go. I was letting go of the pain towards my childhood. I was letting go of attachments that I had. I was addicted to that of smoking a lot, drinking a lot. Smoking resonates, like cannabis resonates at 350, the level of acceptance. And then alcohol resonates at 275, or the level of courage, or 250? No, 275 or 200 or something. It's much lower than that of cannabis, but doing those things kind of locked me in that reality. And while they're not necessarily bad, I was overusing them, and it was keeping me in a certain vibration. That's why I say a lot of this process is letting go to naturally raise your vibration. And also, I'd say that the degree to which it's been easier for me to manifest my dream life has been because I've raised my vibration. I've got more in alignment with my passion. I've meditated and learned how to let go. But I'll share with you those rituals here in a minute. Let me grab the camera right now. Now, the first thing I want to share with you has to do with something that is a little bit weird. It's something I don't know if I've even ever shared before, but it has to do with sleep. And when I go to sleep at night, that is the time that they say our body is, let me turn on the lights here. That's when they say that our bodies are reconnecting with spirit. So our bodies are reconnecting with spirit when we go to bed at night, and one of the purposes of this is so that we can recharge ourselves. So one thing that I do, and this has to do with color therapy, so this is my bed right here. One thing that I do is I have bed sheets. I've always had white bed sheets. They say that white reflects energy. And I know this might sound weird to some of you, but because of what I do for a living of making YouTube videos, just because I think because energetically, there's a lot of people that see my content, I feel like there's energy that may be projected at me. It's like a collective consciousness thing. And so what I do is white energy, the energy of this right here, it's known like for clothes even. So like another ritual you can look at is like clothes. The colors that you wear have an effect on the color therapy and the mood. So whites tend to reflect energy. So I wear white when I go to the airport because it reflects energy. You wear, whereas black absorbs energy. I used to wear black all the time. Black absorbs energy. And that's why they say, you know, if you have a black car, for example, it tends to get really hot inside of there because it's absorbing the energy of the sun. Now, when it comes to my sheets, the reason I have these white sheets is I've always had white sheets. I've always felt called to it. This, I believe, helps reflect that energy. It also feels like I'm sleeping in a freaking pillow, in a like a ball of clouds or something like that. And that's something that I do. So I focus on the even right now, wearing white. It has to do with reflecting energy. It feels like has a certain vibe to it, but also that of the beds and the bed sheet colors. I know it sounds weird. I'm not saying everybody has to do this, by the way. I'm just sharing with you what I do. And remember, these are things that are in alignment with your belief system. And when we're talking about color in clothes, it's like, how do you feel when you wear different things? I feel more protected when I'm wearing stuff that I know reflects, just because there's a lot of energy that I deal with just with what I do for a living, making videos, getting into the flow state. But that's one thing that I do right there. Now, another thing I do, and this is sound interesting, but I've been to somebody that's like a clairvoyant person that mentioned something randomly to me the other day. And it's something I've been felt called to do. So one thing that I do is that thing of water right there. I keep a thing of water next to my bed. Now, intuitively, I felt guided to have water next to my bed as of a couple months ago. And I noticed that if I have a glass of water next to my bed, I sleep better and deeper. I know this sounds weird. It might be some sort of belief system or something like that. But basically, what's happened is when it's there, this is what I believe intuitively it was doing. The glass of water next to my bed, I believe, or maybe the intention is, that it absorbs negative energy, or it absorbs energy while I'm sleeping, so that I can sleep deeper. And what this clairvoyant person said is that, why don't you keep water next to your bed? The element is very comforting for you, And it was like a random recommendation she had. And it was funny because I did that for months and I stopped doing it like 2-3 weeks ago. So when I talked to her and she told me this, I was like, wow, that's funny because I felt called to do that. So this is something that I do. And then something else that I've been doing lately is in the morning what I do is I take this water and I pour it on grass. This is like a ritual. It's not some type of witchcraft or anything like that. This is just, actually I'm ascending right now. I'm ascended and I am in the 5th dimension, and I'll explain to you guys what happens here. So in the 5th dimension, okay, there we go. Anyway, so what I do then is I come out here. This is my little yard area. This is called the windmill house, by the way. And then what I do is, they got these like little brown patches. I put this on there and I pour it out and do it kind of ceremonially. And kind of been feeling called to that recently as well. But nonetheless, those are two kind of weird things that I do to keep my vibration high. And now sleep is one of the most important things. You want to get deep sleep. I also do something like this. This is the first and second weird thing I do, but kind of a little freebie here is what I do is before I go to bed at night, I put an energetic bubble around my bed with the intention of my guides helping me to keep my energy clean, to remove any negative energies, and to help me to remember my dreams too. So that's, I'd say, the first and second thing that I do. Now the third thing that I must do every single day to keep in high vibration is right here. This right here is my little meditation spot. So sometimes what I do is, every day what I do is 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, I meditate. All I do is I get this, I push this thing, I start, and I stare at a freaking candle. I know it sounds weird, but what I do is I stare at this candle and I observe my thoughts and I feel the separation between that candle and me. I feel the separation. It helps me draw boundaries in my life. And then on the in-breath, I focus on the separation. On the out-breath, I focus on the connection to everything. It's a technique called the frame technique. I have a YouTube video on it. It's very powerful. I do that for 5 or 10 minutes a day. And staring at a candle for 5 or 10 minutes every single day over the last, I'd say, since 2012, so almost 10 years, has completely transformed my life. Now, the reason being is with that scale of consciousness that you'll see right there, that scale of consciousness, at the level of 250 is neutrality. Neutrality is observation. When you are able to observe your thoughts from a neutral place, what happens is it loses the charge below that. Imagine you're thinking thoughts like, why did this person do this to me? My life isn't perfect. Instead of reacting and identifying with those thoughts, you can then look at the thoughts and observe them from a neutral place. It's almost like when you're staring at the candle flame, you're watching thoughts walk by. You're not trying to control them, you're observing them, you're letting them be there, and then eventually they begin to go away because you're not trying to control them. So for me, that right there has been an absolute game changer. Meditating for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, and focusing on my breath and focusing on observation. There's another meditation I do sometimes too that's kind of weird. What I do is I sit down, I stare into my eyes, and I feel the separation between me and myself, and then the connection between me and myself to the same type of thing with the frame technique. But what I focus on is also looking into my own eyes very deeply. There's a very powerful thing that happens when you're like staring at other people in the eyes. It's like a transformational workshop exercise that some people do. And when you are doing that, you feel so connected. So imagine doing it to yourself and imagine how connected you feel. Now also, that water that I pour out, I don't actually drink. I do stay hydrated in the morning though. And one thing I do as well, so that's like what, 3? Third one is the meditation. And okay, one of the next things I do is right over here. What I do is, it's kind of early right now because I have someone coming to my house to fix this. I had mold. I'm in Austin now and there's like mold, so I had mold remediation come. And they removed all the mold, but I didn't realize they were going to leave like holes in the wall everywhere because they don't do that. So I have somebody coming to fix that here in a little bit. So the other thing I do every single day is get vitamin D. And normally by the time I get up, I'm up a little bit earlier today, but there's a little sun patch right there. But I normally am in the sun I literally sit in the sun for about 10 minutes. And the benefits of this are right when you wake up in the morning, you're releasing melatonin, which is like the sleep hormone. When you come out into the sun, it stops you from producing that, and it starts to convert it. So it's almost like you wake up faster and more alert. And what I've noticed is that as I've been standing in the sun for 5 or 10 minutes a day, when I go to bed at night, I sleep deeper than I do if I get up in the morning and I don't come out in the sun. So this has been like a key thing for me. I normally will make it a little bit of a meditation. Sometimes I'll check stuff, it's good generally not to check your phone in the morning, but sometimes I'll be honest, I'm not the best at that. I find myself like getting into it for the day and getting things done and answering emails and stuff that needs to be done. But that's another thing. So the sun, right when you wake up in the morning, do any of you guys do that? So far, with everything I've shared, I've gone into my shadow. Okay, now I'm back. If everything I've shared before, is there any of these that you do right now or any that you're going to start doing right now? Let me know. Comment below. Now, one of the next things, oh yeah, this is something I do every morning too. Also that clairvoyant person was telling me that. I was like, oh yeah, I already do that. And my grandpa told me this too before he passed away. He was very into the esoterics. He was into a lot of like energy stuff. So before going to bed at night, what I do, this is my little shower, my little bath thing. What I do is I take that of a shower right before bed. It cleanses the energetic systems. It cleanses the energy from the day, anything I was doing. Sometimes as well, lately I've been watching Game of Thrones, which is a very dark show. I watched Vikings, I love that show, and then now I got sucked into Game of Thrones. I always dreaded this day because I knew that the moment I started that show, I would finish it. I'm on season 5 now. Have you guys seen the show Game of Thrones? Probably not the highest vibrational show, but the way I cleanse myself is I go into the shower at night, and I also have, let me show you something else that I haven't really shared before, is this right here. This right here is Himalayan salt. What I do is I get a handful of it, and I scrub my body with it. Salt is considered a purifier and a cleanser. You can also take an Epsom salt bath. That is something else that people do that tends to really help cleanse the energy. But yeah, that's something that I do. And I also, right when I wake up in the morning, I take a cold shower. That's been really key for me, also getting into a prime like state where I am really in peak state to make videos. Back in my shadow, guys. Oh my God, it's so dark over here. Just kidding, I'm back. So the next thing is something, now when you look at that scale of consciousness, 250 is like meditation, observing your thoughts. 400 is reasoning, and love is above that. When you are doing what you are passionate about, you are in the highest vibrational state. Now, one thing that I do every day, pretty much every day, is I make content. I love making content. I'm passionate about it. Probably feel my energy through this video right now, and that's because I love doing it. Now, when you are doing one thing you're passionate about every day, at least, you are putting and setting forth the timeline of you doing what you love. So one thing that I do is I have my camera set up. Normally my camera's on here. It was on here at the beginning of this video. And then I have this little thing right here that's like my mic. Everything's set up ready to go. And what I do is I just get up and all I have to do is push one button to start the video. I find my mind is freshest in the morning right when I wake up. I set the intention before I go to bed. Look, there's the video. 7 weird things I do that keep me in high vibration permanently. All 7 things are here. What I do is I write down my ideas that I'll be talking about the next day before I go to bed at night. My subconscious marinades in it. When I wake up the next day, I'm just ready to go. And it's like a free flow. I don't have a script for this. There's no script. There is the layered list things, but one leverage thing that's going to wire in your dream reality every day has like been really key for me. So me doing and making videos every single day is what I'm actually passionate about. And the thing you're passionate about will normally add value to other people somehow. When you are putting value out into the world, that comes back to you. It's almost like the universe supports you more when you have that kind of pure intention. So that's something else that I do every day. And this is something else that might be a little bit weird, but I do something called intermittent fasting. That means that this morning, what I will do is I probably won't eat or drink anything that has calories in it. I just drink a lot of water. Lately, I normally drink alkaline water, but I've been feeling called lately to drink more spring water. Maybe because it's got more minerals in it, I'm not sure. But I've been drinking water in the morning. I don't eat until normally 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and I eat between like 3 and 5 or 3 and 7. So I only eat within a couple hour window. My body got used to this, many people's will. I remember when I first learned about this from my friend Victor, I was like, what? Only eat once a day? I'm gonna be hungry, all of this stuff. But from doing intermittent fasting, it helps me stay really mentally clear in the morning. Anytime we eat food, our bodies then go into a state to where we are breaking down food, so our body starts working, and it affects our minds. All the food that we eat affects our minds. I don't eat sugar, I eat very healthy, and what I do is I prolong eating until later in the day. Lately, I used to like work out and then eat. Now I actually eat and then work out because I find that that's better for having more energized workouts. But intermittent fasting for me has been something that I've been doing for years off and on, and it's something that I believe has helped me keep a high vibration because I'm mentally clear most of my day. That's what works for me. Now, everything I share with you here are things that work for me to raise my own vibration. Now, my question to you is, what do you do to raise your vibration? There's one thing that more than anything else will block us from experiencing our dream reality. It's self-sabotage. On your journey to success, you're gonna notice that there's different subconscious things you do that are in place to keep you safe, to keep you in the familiar zone of where you are. And if you start to get success and you start to get an amazing relationship, or you start to move away from what has been your base point, there are things that'll happen that you will subconsciously do to sabotage yourself to keep you in familiar territory. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can apply the 5 V's. These 5 V's, I believe, will completely transform your life the way that they did for me. And it'll be something that helps you to really create your dream life in an easier way. And it'll save you a lot of time too. These are things that literally took me 3 or 4 years to learn, and exponentialized everything once I learned it. So on this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you the 5 V's. We're gonna learn how to pound the 5 V's. The 5 V's are right here. We're gonna go through it here in a minute. But first off, we have to understand, what is self-sabotage? It is like target, it's more fancy way of saying sabotage. Now, I was watching something, I actually wasn't watching this at all, I don't know why I said that. I was walking around my neighborhood last night, and I called my friend Matt, and he's a huge tennis fan. And just recently, I guess there was some Grand Slam thing where this guy, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but it's something Javovic or something like that. He's like one of the most famous tennis players. It shows you how much I know about tennis. But he was sharing with me how good this guy is. This guy is phenomenal, like one of the best to ever play the game, apparently. He is in finals, and this guy would have been one of the only people in the last 50 years to won like 3 different competitions within the same year, or some crazy thing like that. And my buddy Matt was watching the whole process of this, and here the guy is. He's already won 2 of these competitions, like 2 of these separate competitions, and he's getting ready to possibly win the world title or whatever for the 3rd, and it would be the first time in 50 years that it's done. This guy gets to the very last round, like the very last competition, and he loses. He's like about to win this crazy thing, and then he loses at the last minute. And my friend Matt said he choked. He like had it all in the bag, but he choked. He got in his head about it. And the moment he said this, I said to him, I know nothing about this guy really other than a couple things, but I said, dude, he self-sabotaged himself. It's sabotage. There was something about the energy dynamic. There was something about the way he viewed himself. Maybe there was even a little bit excess pressure he was putting on himself, to where then what happened is he ended up sabotaging his own success. I think in a parallel reality or something, he won that. But he got into his own head, and because of his self-image, because of the way he views himself, it was like he was doing these little micro movements and things that sabotaged him winning and being maybe the best to ever play the game. I mean, my friend Matt said that if he won this, he'd be the best player ever played the game. But maybe he's already that, but it'd be like really solidify him in that. So that made me think of self-sabotage, and also think in my own life of how many times I've self-sabotaged myself when it comes to being successful on YouTube, when it comes to me making more money. I remember one time I made like I got $5,000 or $6,000 from something back. This is before I was on YouTube. And I remember seeing this $6,000 in my account. And I was like, for me, that was so much money. I was like, $6,000. That's a lot of stuff, or whatever I was thinking. I was only used to living paycheck to paycheck. So all of a sudden I have $6,000 in my account. Guess what I do with it? I found ways to either spend it, or actually I think I had bills come. I had like other things happen because it was not my natural base point for me to have that much amount in my bank account. And so there were things that came up where I sabotaged it and spent it, or actually had bills that came up that I had to pay that kind of came out of nowhere. And I look back now and I can very clearly see that that was a form of self-sabotage. Now, here's the thing, and here's one of the things that I think will change your life when you start to understand this, okay? I'm gonna bring it in a little bit closer. We're gonna get just a little bit more intimate here, okay? I've been doing the camera a little bit further back though, just so we're not so close that you feel like, dude, I have intimacy blocks. I need you just a little further away. So here I am. I remember when I first got on Instagram and I was starting to grow, I was like, some of my Instagrams were like this close. And there was this girl that I used to know, and she's like, you need to stand further back or something like that. I felt so self-conscious. She's like, could you back up a little? She commented on it. I was like, oh, am I too close? But there's a purpose to this. Actually, it's even too close for me, okay? My own intimacy blocks. So this is the way, and this is what happens with self-sabotage. And this is why it happens. So think of this as the layers of our self, okay? Right here, we have in the middle, we have identity. We have our beliefs about who we are. Then at the second layer, we have feelings, our feelings about who we are. And then at the third level, we have behaviors. So these are our actions. These are our feelings and the based on the meaning we give things. So identity slash meaning. Identity slash meaning is the center core. Now what happens is we may take action. I started taking action back in 2017 of making daily videos on YouTube, and it completely transformed my life and it caused a lot of success. But before I did that, I also started to see myself as a YouTuber. I started saying, why not me? And then what happened is from this, there's feelings where I'm in passionate state. This is what really changed my life. Now, what happens with self-sabotage is people may change their behaviors. Something on their outside reality may change, but unless you change your identity, it will not be natural for you, and you will find subconscious things you do to sabotage it. This could be drinking alcohol, smoking. It could be substances. This could be little patterns, little things you do in relationship. I know for me, I had this thing where I didn't feel worthy in relationships. So when I would meet someone, I was dating some woman, and it's like things are going good, I would like find ways to like kind of sabotage it. And it was like subconscious, but it was like I literally had a belief, and part of my identity is I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of love, so how can I attract somebody that is able to express that nurturing, loving energy back to me? If I start to feel that, I'd be like, what's going on here? This doesn't feel comfortable. This doesn't feel safe. Which really means this just isn't familiar. So the key to this is realizing that this is an identity problem. This is not feelings. It's not a behavioral problem. This is an identity problem. And the key to this is becoming aware of what the core is, the core belief. The root of this is becoming aware of the core beliefs. The core beliefs. And when you do this, it changes absolutely everything. I know my buddy right now, he's going through where he's starting to become more and more successful. And he's like starting to make a lot more money than he used to make. And what happens is it's like he doesn't feel worthy of this level of money, and he's always looking for the shoe to drop. It's like he'll make like literally like $100,000 in like a month, and then be like, okay, I still don't have enough, or I still like, this is not normal. I think I need to like spend this, or, you know, and he's got like, you know, 3 kids and a wife, and he's got all these expenses and stuff, but it's very obvious to me that, see, this is his own form of self-sabotage, which means it's an identity thing. Does he believe he's worthy of making a lot of abundance? Does he believe that things can be easy? That's another thing. I was with my buddy Owen the other day, who owns like a live events company, and I was joking around and giving him shit because he always says, he has this thing with business where like things have to be very hard for him, and he knows this. He knows that it's one of his limiting beliefs. But it's like things have to be extraordinarily hard. He got successful from like grinding it out on YouTube, from like going out and doing these crazy things that no one else was doing at live events and stuff, and he's very successful at that. However, he realizes that he's like stressed out and it's something that's like not actually benefiting him, because he believes he has to work so hard to be successful. We were at this, he just got done doing a live event here in Austin. We're at this place getting IVs done, and the lady that was taking his blood pressure was like, you need to calm down. Told him, like, you need to calm down and just chill for like 5 minutes so that your blood pressure can go down so that I can give you an IV. Because his blood pressure is high because he's always going. Things are always have to be hard. And it was funny though, because he talks a lot. He's like me, he talks a lot, but he had to literally be quiet for like 5 minutes before he was allowed to like, get the IV put in. So he was just like sitting there. I was like, this is very hard for you, isn't it? He's like, yeah. Like, I can just tell. But it's funny though, because I'm like, dude, not everything has to be so hard for you. You can allow it to be easier. And this is like the key to understanding what this is. So first off, let's go into one of the first V's, and then we're going to go into the core beliefs, which I think will change everything. Now, the first V is values. What are your values? This is a way that you stop self-sabotaging. Your values are at the core of your identity. Now, one of the ways I was sabotaging myself was with love relationships. What I would do is I would be a people pleaser. I'd want other people to validate me. I'd want other people to like me. So what I would do is I'd be focused on them and their experience, and I would abandon myself, and I would value their validation and their approval over my own, over even knowing what are my actual values. And what happened is I became aware that I valued what other people thought so much because I had such a low sense of self-worth, and I was so afraid of being abandoned by other people, that it would depolarize my sexual relationships with, like, who I'm dating. It's like, well, if I'm like changing my center of gravity to fix someone else, or changing that to make someone else happy, they don't feel safe. How can the feminine feel safe? So I had to realize that for me to stop sabotaging my love life, I had to become aware of my values, and I had to start valuing authenticity and vulnerability, which we'll talk about here in a minute, more than that of people's approval, people's validation. And when I did that, everything in my life started to change. I started to have more vulnerable conversations with other people, but I started to feel so much more alive. And it changed everything in my life. And this is one of the major keys that we want to become aware of is, are you living according to your values? And what are your values? Do you value authenticity? Do you, like, whatever you want to attract in someone else, you must first value it within yourself and also first embody it in yourself. So what I had to do is I had to become aware also that I had this core wound. So there's 3 core wounds. The first one I'll go into right now. Okay. By the way, if you're liking this video, if you like these more in-depth videos where we really break all of this down and shift it, so it's like the intention is for us to shift it, then go ahead and like this video, shift that like button, and comment below and say, yo, what up? Just say what up. I don't know why. It's funny, I was coming up with the 5 V's, and I almost couldn't think of the last one because I was like, I think it all needs to be V's. It's so easy to remember, right? 5 V's. So I was just going to put vacation. It's got nothing to do with this whole video and self-sabotage, but doesn't everyone like vacation? So it was like, I was trying to force it to work though. Anyways, value. Okay, now the first one, abandonment and rejection is one of the main core beliefs we have that will sabotage ourselves. So for me, part of my identity and part of the number one like block I had is I was afraid to be abandoned by other people. I felt abandoned when I was a kid, emotionally unavailability that was there when I was a child, and I felt like I'm not worthy. I need to change myself. I need to change someone else. If I could fix whoever I'm with or whoever I'm dating or whatever and get them to love me, then I'll finally be enough because I didn't feel enough. And what I really had to do is realize this though. Here's the crazy thing. When people are so concerned about what other people think or also trying to fix other people, what they're afraid of or what they don't realize is that they have already abandoned themselves to please other people. So the abandonment has already happened. And the thing that I had to realize is I must stop abandoning myself for other. By having a value of other people's validation, of what other people think, and all these things. And once I became aware of these things and I realized the core of this, and this is something, by the way, we talk about in the 21-Day Magnetic Love Challenge. It's 21 days in a row of us healing these core wounds right here so that we can either have deeper relationships with someone we're already in a relationship with or remove love blocks so that we can attract love in. We've had over 4,000 people go through this. It's extraordinarily powerful. You can check it out below or go to aarondowney.com/love and check it out there and you guys can join. But one of the main things I realized through going through this process is that I felt abandoned when I was a kid and I thought that it was my fault. There was shame. And if we have a level of shame with our identity, which means I'm broken, there's something wrong with me, how can we become successful in love, in our business or anything? Because I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. There's a fundamental belief there. And what I had to realize was that my parents' emotional unavailability when I was growing up wasn't my fault. Their divorce when I was 5 wasn't my fault. And I want you to know that right now and right now, is that's not your fault. The things that happened when you were a kid, it's not your fault. And when you're able to separate your energy from theirs, you're able to start taking your energy back. And you start to say, what do I value? Because it was a survival mechanism for you to tune to all the other people, to not get abandoned or rejected. And when you start realize that you can only reject yourself, and you've probably been rejecting yourself by not living according to your values, that's when you really start to wake up in a powerful way. Now, the second thing is vulnerability. This is one of the most powerful things I brought into my life even this last couple of years, is vulnerability. Vulnerability is the key to opening up your heart and to becoming aware of these things that are sabotaging you. So for me, vulnerability means that I am so bought in on having and being authentic that I am just opening up around other friends and family. Things I used to not say, I say now. Sometimes it triggers more people, but guess what? It's so much more real and it's so much more empowering. And because I wasn't having harder conversations with people or saying no, this is another part of vulnerability, is saying no. You might sabotage yourself because the 5 people you keep around the most are people that maybe aren't elevating your vibration. I know that when I worked a 9-to-5 job I hated, I was surrounded by people and I hung out with people that worked 9-to-5 jobs they hated. And if I kept saying yes to them all the time and I didn't have the balls to say no, I'd stay in that vibration. I would be sabotaging myself. I had to get very honest with myself. And part of this too was, I remember something I think that sabotaged myself for a long time was the substances I was using. I was drinking, I was smoking a lot of cannabis. Not everyone that smokes cannabis, I believe, is it always bad? But for me, I was using it to numb my pain. I didn't want to go into my childhood. Many of you know my childhood from my other videos. Once I started going into this and I started opening up my heart, this is when everything began to change. Vulnerability is the cure to shame. When you say, I'm broken, you don't want other people to know you're broken. So you'll do anything you can to get other people to like you and not to see, and you'll present a level of perfectionism. That's another sign of self-sabotage. Perfectionism. Does everything you do have to be perfect? I know when I started making YouTube videos, I was like, I have to have everything figured out. I have to know how to edit. I have to have all the great ideas. I have to have some coaching certificate. I have to have all these things or I can't start. That perfectionism was self-sabotage, keeping me safe. But if I believe I'm broken, then I want everyone else to believe that I'm worthy. So the thing you could do is, the key out of shame is vulnerability. I remember there were certain things from my childhood that I was very shameful of. I remember when I started to share them with people, holy shit. It opened up a whole new, I was like, wait, the shame went away. Vulnerability and sharing these things, that's one thing that we do in the 21-day challenge as well, is it's accountability. So there's like things that you actually do, and one of them is a vulnerability challenge where you call someone that maybe you haven't talked to in a while and you have a vulnerable conversation with them, and it opens up there's people that have been through the challenge that literally have reconnected with old best friends, old family members they haven't talked to in years. And it's so cool because now they have like powerful relationships where they're coming from their own values. And that vulnerability opens up so that you release the shame that's inside the identity that's keeping you from finding out who you really are. At least that's the belief. Now the third thing is the validate. Now you must self-validate yourself. You must self-validate yourself, or you will always look to the outside for other people to validate you. And one of the things that sabotages us the most is that we give a shit what other people think about us. And we care so much that we will keep ourselves small to not outshine others. It's another form of self-sabotage. Were you an only child, or did you have siblings growing up? When I was 3, my brother was born, and I remember when he was born, I don't actually remember it. I just know that when he was born, I remember the attention shifted from me to him, and I started feeling like maybe I'm not worthy. He was also in the hospital a lot. He had stuff going on, and I remember that growing up, I never wanted the attention on me, even birthdays and stuff like that, because I didn't want my brother to feel small. It's a form of self-sabotage. Am I afraid of my own power? Am I afraid of what other people will think? Am I afraid of letting other people down or feel small? I know even going to like friends' house, even after I become successful on YouTube, and it's like when I go and hang out with friends sometimes, I'm afraid to talk about my life. Sometimes I'm afraid to share shit on YouTube because I'm afraid that it'll make me unrelatable. Because now my problems are very different than when I started. When I started on YouTube, I was like, oh, I'm learning this, I'm learning that. It was much closer to, I think, what was relatable. And now it's like, how do I not pay, a lot of money? And like, I'm learning how to like write off taxes in a different way because I don't want to pay $500,000 a year of taxes. You see what I mean? Like but those aren't relatable. So if I share it, it's like, oh my goodness, but I'm realizing what's authentic, back to the vulnerability. But the caring what other people think and wanting people to view me in a certain way, that comes also from this core wound of abandonment and rejection. But let's get now to the second core belief. There's three main core beliefs. Abandonment, rejection, that's the first one. Second one is worthiness. Worthiness. Do we believe we are worthy of love? Do we believe we are worthy of money? If we don't believe we are, we will sabotage ourselves. If you believe, because of your identity, that you are only worthy of making $50,000 per year, you will block out opportunities where you could be making $100,000 or you could work for yourself or whatever the situation could be. Because the self-preservation mechanism inside of us, our identity, is doing anything it can to remain consistent to what's safe and familiar. So if you want to change and you want to stop self-sabotaging yourself, you must become aware of what your identity is, what your base point vibration is. One of the things that changed my life the most is when I read the book Psycho-Cybernetics back in like 2012, and I learned about the self-image. The self-image was something that I learned about and I started to apply, and I realized I saw myself as an average sales employee working in women's shoes. I started to see myself as a top sales employee, and I started being a top sales employee. I started saying, why not me? I had little blocks come up, and then I was like, how would the version of Aaron that's a top salesperson, how would I greet customers? Would I greet just one customer? Would I be selective, or would I greet everybody? Would I be in abundance? Would I add value to people? Would I joke around with people? Or would I be very serious? Like I started to be this version of me, and within days, I was a top salesperson. So then I said, can I apply this to being full-time on YouTube? What would the full-time version of Aaron be doing? Making daily videos. That's a behavior, but I started to say, why not just be a full-time YouTuber? This is one of the keys to this whole process, is realizing your identity is not static, it's not fixed, and it doesn't have to be living in the past. It's a flexible noodle. I always use that analogy, but it's like, think of a noodle. It's not al dente where it like snaps and it's done. It's like, what do you call it? It's like flexible, it's malleable. Your identity is malleable. You are who you choose to be right now. That's who you are. And every moment, you're constantly changing. It's just that we constantly change to be the same thing over and over again because it feels safe and familiar. So getting to your core and realizing what your identity is key, because then you'll realize why you're sabotaging yourself. And you can start to do the inner work. Would people judge? You think, you may not realize it, but you may think you're going to be judged if you make more money. You may think that you're going to your mom or dad are going to get jealous if you're in a happy relationship in your love life. These are subconscious things, but when you become aware of them, that's when everything begins to change. So the key to most of this process is awareness. It really is awareness and becoming aware of these things. Now, the validation you can start to give to yourself. Can you validate yourself? Because you're living in accordance to your values and you're being vulnerable. You're opening up and you're releasing the shame. Now, the fourth step is the vision. Now, the vision is very important. I had to have a vision of the version of Aaron as a full-time YouTuber. Even now, I'm letting go, and I realize that I even sabotage myself now from going into the version of me that's not just focused on YouTube, but doing live events. How do I sabotage myself? I procrastinate like a mofo. I'm procrastinating. My friend that runs those live events reached out to me recently, like, hey, come speak at this live event. I was watching Game of Thrones, so I said no. It's a really good episode. But also I was tired and I had all these excuses. Some of those excuses I think were legit, and some of them I think I was procrastinating and waiting. I ended up going to his event the next day, which didn't have room for me to speak because it was like he was finishing up stuff. So I got to go see what he does, and it planted seeds of how much I want to be doing live events. But I could have actually spoke if I went the day earlier. I should have done that. But guess what? I was sabotaging myself. I was procrastinating. I was waiting. You want to know? For like 2 years on YouTube, I made 1 or 2 YouTube videos and I went like months and months and months without making videos. You want to know why? I was like, it was just, I was waiting. I was waiting for the right camera equipment, waiting for the right ideas, waiting for someone to put me on, waiting. The procrastination for me was something that like, it was a way that I was sabotaging myself from really stepping into the new version of me, because the new version of me was unknown. It was kind of scary. So, but if you have a vision, it makes it way easier. Have a vision and a why. So the vision of the version of me that was a full-time YouTuber had different values than the other. The other version of me valued, the 9-to-5 job version of me valued safety, it valued certainty of a paycheck, it valued like conformity and listening to upper management, even though I didn't agree with it. That's that version of me valued that, being told what to do. This new version of me valued initiative, willpower, taking action, just starting, not having everything figured out, but just moving ahead. And that changed my self-identity. I literally was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And then from there, I learned internet marketing. And then from there, I went from making like, whatever I was making like at my job, like $60,000 a year, all of a sudden I'm way more successful. And it's because I took initiative and you start. The blocks are going to come up regardless. But when the blocks come up, you have a vision of your why. Why are you doing it? Because it's who you really are. You came here to be that version of you. And another aspect I'll talk about for a sec is pressure. There's something called pressure. Now, pressure, that tennis guy had a lot of pressure. And that pressure got to him because he made it very important. He stopped being in the moment and he started being in the future. And the thing I want to encourage you to do is your vision is something that you're not doing to get somewhere else. You're doing it because it's who you are. And it's natural for your identity. Sabotage is when it's really, really cool. If you made like $100,000 a year, then it's like this frantic thing. But if it's just natural for you, you act differently. Your values are in alignment with it. And you're doing it because it's who you are, not because of what it'll get you. If I make a YouTube video right now that I'm like, guys, please like this video. Please subscribe. I just need to get to more subscribers, more validation. And if you please do that, that would be great. Like if I make videos I think you're gonna like, it's a different energy than me making videos that I just think like are vulnerable, authentic, and I'm making this video because I enjoy making the video. People that like do really well on YouTube, they fucking love YouTube. Mr. Beast, you guys know who Mr. Beast is? He's like the most well-known YouTuber probably, growing like crazy. Seems like a super legit guy. I hope to meet him one day. But what he's done is he is so freaking passionate about YouTube. He nerds out talking about the algorithm. He gets up every day. He spends 10 hours a day focused on the algorithm. When I got really good on YouTube in the beginning, like now I don't focus as much on YouTube as I used to. If I wanted to put all my energy on YouTube, I could. And I would do better than what I'm doing, or I guess it would grow quicker. But he's just a little nerd about it. He loves it. And because of that, he's able to put that energy into it, and it's growing like crazy. And it's funny to see, he's doing it not because of just the subscribers and all this stuff, but it's also his passion. He really loves it. And that's why it's important to become aware of that. Now, the fifth step, and let's go also the core belief. The last core belief is control. It's control, it's trust, learning to trust more. And how many of you feel like maybe you start to let go a little bit and then you have to hold back on and you remain attached? That's me in many ways. And I believe things have to be really hard. My friend Owen, he has the self-sabotage. Like he believes everything has to be really hard for him to be successful. So he's always grinding it out and his blood pressure's high and he's got to not talk for 5 minutes before he can get like this IV thing put on. It's because letting go of control is hard for him because maybe he did let go in the past. And when he did let go, maybe things didn't go so well, or there were things he went through in his business where he didn't have control. And that made him feel anxiety, and then he felt like he had to control everything, and now he's got all this pressure. So one of the main things, and one of the main points of this video is becoming aware of that control and learning that you can let go, you can trust more, you can allow things to be easy. You have to relook at your identity and your core beliefs and realize that as you begin to trust more, I have a lot of control in my business because I think that I was controlled growing up. Because for 7 to 15 years old, the whole ex-stepmom thing, I wasn't allowed to really be the most expansive version of me. So because of that, guess what happened? It was like I have to control my own life now. I'm used to that shift to control. So I noticed my diet, the way I eat, like I control aspects of my life because I'm used to that energy and that's familiar for me. But the fifth V is vacation. Just kidding. It's victimless. What you want to do is you want to realize that if you feel like a victim and your identity is being a victim, you will continue to create experiences where you are the victim. I had a belief about women always trying to control me. Even after my ex-stepmom left, I kept attracting women in my life that wanted to control me. And I literally felt like the victim. And I realized even recently, I still have threads of feeling like a victim where I'm addicted to it. I don't even know it. Like I've certain things that have happened in different things, like a contractor for my house in Sedona, for example. I've told this story before, but just like I paid him like 17 grand up front to have all this work done. Once I paid him, he disappeared. And then eventually I realized I wanted to sell the house or list the house or rent the house out. And I was like, actually, I don't need some of this work done since you're supposed to have it done in 30 days and it's been like 2-3 months now. I need to get someone moved in because I'm paying a lot of money per month for it. And he then was just nowhere to be found. And then eventually I was like, okay, then I need that money back. And when I did, he already spent it. He didn't have it. So then he argued with me on different things. It took an extra month to get it back. And I realized that I was a victim. I was trying to be right. See, I couldn't trust this person. And I realized that was a core belief there, the believing that I'm worthy of that, and also a core belief that maybe aligned me to then making the choice to pay him up front. If I didn't pay him up front, it wouldn't have been an issue. He would have been around and he would have got it done in the time frame. But I was coming to Austin, so I was like, oh, I might as well pay you now and get it over with, and I trust you. But I have a belief that I couldn't trust, and that's why it was there. But victim, become aware. Things are not happening to you. Things are happening for you. A couple weeks after this happened, I was on a plane going from Phoenix to San Diego. And when I was on that flight, I saw a guy named Jocko Willink. I didn't talk to him or anything because I was like, just letting him do his thing. But he has a book called Extreme Ownership. He's like a Marine guy. And I've always seen him around like this personal development space. So on the flight, I've decided to buy his book on extreme ownership. And part of being a leader is taking ownership over everything. Everything is kind of your fault. I allowed that guy I paid him $17K for him to then kind of screw me over in a way, but that was my fault. I shouldn't have done that. And as I started to realize that things are happening for me, not to me, that's when everything changed. Over the last 6 months, my whole entire energy has changed in a very positive and powerful way from the way that it used to be. And I believe it has to do with this technique that I'm about to share with you that I believe will profoundly change your life if you do this little meditation exercise for the next 21 days. And 21 days is just a way of wiring it in. But let me share with you a little bit about who I was before I learned this technique and a little bit about who I am now that I've been applying this technique for over the last 6 months now, 4 to 6 months. And it is something that is very simple, but when you begin to do it, you begin to feel completely different. People begin noticing the energetic change in yourself. You'll begin carrying yourself in a different way. Setting boundaries will be very easy, where you used to feel pulled in and feel the guilt if you didn't do something someone else wanted you to do. And it changes absolutely everything. I learned it from my shadow integration coach. That's what I call him, shadow integration coach. He taught me it. It's a Zazen technique is the name of it. It's like a mindfulness type body awareness technique, and it makes all the difference. So where I was before I learned this technique, I call it the frame technique. That's just what I'm gonna call it, and that's what you're gonna learn, and we're gonna actually do this together in this video. We're gonna do this little activation exercise that you can come back to for the next 21 days and see how different your energy is. Now, before, the way that I was and the way I showed up in the world is that I was hyper attached to what people thought of me. I was very sensitive to other people's energy. I could pick up and know what other people were feeling, and there was this desire that I had to please other people. Some people call this a people pleaser. And while there were certain contexts, like I have my business, I make YouTube videos, I'm very focused, there were certain contexts to where I'd fall into other people's frame. That means what they would want me to do. And I would find that this sounds kind of weird, but I would attract people into my life that was a reflection of my old childhood wound of the whole ex-stepmom situation. If you don't know my story, I had an abusive ex-stepmom in my life from 7 to 16 years old who was mentally, physically, and emotionally controlling. So I always had someone in my life that had a very strong frame, and I felt safe in that. So I would attract people into my life that would, in a way, take advantage of me or establish their frame, and I would stick around even though it wasn't beneficial for my energy, or I'd feel drained, because I was getting that sense of safety out of it. I was getting a sense of connection and validation out of it because I didn't deep down validate myself and I didn't know where my boundaries were. So if somebody reached out to me and said, hey, come, let's go do this. And I was like, no, I don't really want to do that. They'd say, no, come on, do it. I would then go do it. And that would like show my weak frame in a way. Whereas when you have a strong frame of reality, people pick up on this. You have a more magnetic quality. It's in a way like whoever has the stronger frame is the person that's leading. If you have a weak frame, you are going to be a leaf in the wind around everybody else. Now, what happens a lot of times too, when we talk about this, just to give it you the awareness of this, is what happens is people that are highly sensitive or empathic, what happens is when they were kids, when they were younger, they went through some type of trauma where they had to tune themselves to their outer environment. Maybe they had to tune themselves to their mom or their dad. And what happens is if they weren't getting their needs met, they would then tune to the other people to try to make them happy and to help them. So it's almost, instead of the mother nurturing the son or daughter, it's like the daughter or son tries nurturing the mom in some way and being there emotionally for them. And what happens is that's when the people pleaser mentality starts. But also what happens is there's a feeling of not feeling safe in the bottom 3 chakras. And what happens is then sensitive people or empathic people move up to the 3rd eye chakra where they can very easily tune to everybody else. So then what happens is it's hard to set boundaries because you feel what everybody else feels. You literally think that what other people are feeling about you is about you. Versus knowing this new mantra that I've been talking a lot about in my podcast channel and even on YouTube, it's, oh, that's your shit, not mine. That's what I've been saying a lot because a lot of people, now, of course, you're not doing that for every little thing. Maybe some stuff you do take responsibility for, but more often than not, if you're an empathic person, you're taking on other people's stuff. You're finding it your responsibility, and you're so tuned in to your 3rd eye that you're connecting to everybody else, but you've lost yourself in the process. So the key and the difference for me is understanding this one concept. The body is the subconscious mind. Now what happens is being in your own frame of reality, which means you're leading in your life, which means that you're focused on yourself as well as other, but you're filling up your own cup. Being in your own frame and in your own body are the same thing. They're the same thing. So the more you bring your energy into your body, the more you're going to be in your natural frame. And when you went through trauma growing up, maybe you went through abuse or some type of trauma, you escaped your lower chakras and went into the upper ones, and now you're super sensitive, but the key is getting more into your body so that you feel more safe. Now that I've done all this, and I've done this meditation technique I'm about to share with you, I have no problem setting boundaries with people. Now, here's the thing. I don't even need to set as many outer boundaries because I have a level of inner boundaries. Outer boundaries is where I have to say, hey, this isn't okay. I do not accept this. That's an outer boundary that you have to lay. An inner boundary is where you feel that energy within yourself and you have enough self-love and self-worth that people don't even think of crossing that line, so you don't even have to say anything. So the difference is when I used to walk, I tell this story a lot, but when I used to go down the street from my house, I would go to a walking trail and I'd be walking around, I'd see people. If I was in a mood to where I didn't necessarily want to say hi to people or something, I would still be out of like this kindness mentality, be like, oh, hey, how are you? And it was this kind of desperate energy that you could feel. After I started doing this and after I did this for a couple months, I was so, and really it was only a couple weeks, I was so in my body and I didn't feel a need to like say whatever wasn't authentic. Now I value authenticity versus before I was valuing validation and trying to please, thinking that that's where I got my value. Now I get my value from being me. And I've noticed that I've become more polarizing since I've gone through this because I don't care what people think. I also noticed that it's just natural for me to lead in my life. My whole business transformed to where I started leading. It was almost like I was waiting for somebody to do, like I was waiting for some type of guidance or something. All of a sudden, snapped into place, started taking action. I have an app coming out. I have all this cool stuff happening. And it became, once I started leading, once I started getting inside of my own body, the boundaries were easy to set. I became more polarized and I stopped caring what people thought. It was just completely different. I saw friends that I used to hang out with and they're like, wow, your energy is very different. And the reason it's different is because I'm actually being me and I'm in my own body. And there's a level of gravity to that that becomes very powerful. So that's the difference between the two. Now, the bridge to that is this exercise that I want to share with you right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to tune a little bit of music in the background. And what I'm asking you to do is to just know that, let me explain the technique first and then we'll do it together. So basically what you do is you stare at a candle flame that is a couple feet in front of you. I've been staring at a candle flame since 2012, just in general, and observing my thoughts. I find fire to be a very powerful way of centering the mind. I noticed that when the mind wanders, or the eyes wander, the mind wanders. So when you keep your eyes on one point, you become very focused. When I'm making videos and I'm staring into the lens, it's very easy for me to focus because my eyes aren't going like this all the time. If I go like this all the time and try to do the video, it's very hard. You guys ever see that meme where it's like the person, what is it, that, I forget what it's called, but it's like person going back and forth. It was like a Snapchat filter or something like that. But it'd be hard to think if you were doing that. Now, what you do is what my shadow work integration coach told me to do. And it's so simple that you almost don't want to do it because it seems too simple. But this is what you do, and this is what we'll walk through right now. What you do is for 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, you stare at a candle flame. You observe your thoughts. But what you do is on the in-breath, you bring the awareness into your body. You could do this sitting down. You could do this cross-legged. But you're staring at the candle flame. And what you do is, as you are staring at the candle flame, you are observing your thoughts, but you're also bringing the awareness inside of your body. So let's do this real quick. Let me go grab a candle flame. I'll be right back. And I'm back. I found the candle. Now what we're going to do is with this a couple feet in front of you, you're going to stare at the candle flame. Now what you want to do is as you are staring at the candle flame, you are bringing the awareness into your body. And this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive to many people, but what you do is you actually feel on the in-breath the separation between you and the candle flame. Normally what happens is you feel the connection with everybody else. We do these meditations. That's powerful, but this is powerful for a different reason. You see, what happened when you become empathic or highly sensitive is you've lost your sense of self. You felt more safe into other people's frame. So what you're doing now is you're bringing the awareness into the body and you're bringing the awareness into self. And you are feeling the separation between you and the flame. Now, you and the flame are both connected and separate at the same time. When you were a baby, what happened, or a kid, you felt the separation, but then at a certain point you felt connected, and then you didn't feel safe for you to feel that separation, or you felt isolated and you didn't like that feeling, so you kept recreating it. Or what you would do is try to attach yourself to other people, and that's when attachment starts. So the key to this is knowing that on the in-breath, what you're going to do, and we're going to walk through this right now, you're going to feel the awareness inside of your body. And what you're going to do is you're going to put that awareness in your left leg, your right leg, your torso, your heart. And then what you're going to focus on is feeling the space in between you and the flame. You're going to feel the space in between you and the walls around you. You could even feel the space between you and some other people in your life that you want to establish boundaries with. But basically, as you get more into your body and as you feel the separation, you are taking the energy back inside. So what I would do on that walk that I told you about, where I would then go and instead of being the people pleaser, I would go and just be in my own energy from doing this exercise and feeling the separation. When I pass people, they would then be magnetized to wanting to say hi to me. Not that I was trying to do it for that reason, but I was just grounded. There's an attractiveness, a magnetism to being grounded, to being in your own energy. When you're tuning yourself outside of you, people feel that. And it's like you're projecting energy at them. When you put the energy inside, people feel that gravity, and it's very attractive, and it's very centered, and you feel better while you do it. So the key to this is on the in-breath, you feel the separation. And on the out-breath, you relax, and you feel the environment. You feel the connection. This is a shadow integration technique as well. But basically what you're doing is on the in-breath, you're also very clearly staring at the flame. On the out-breath, you're still staring at the flame, but you relaxed your gaze and you put it on the peripheral. You put it on the peripheral. I can't say P's because this thing will shut off. So on the out-breath, you're going to focus on the peripheral, but you still stay focused here. It's just that you kind of relax your gaze, and on the in-breath, you focus very intently on the flame itself. So this is the exercise that we're going to do. I'm going to guide you through it right now. So right now, let's take a deep breath in. And relax. Take a deep breath in.
Breathe it out. Feel your body begin to relax more and more. Let's set the intention right now that every one of us feels more centered in our body by the end of this exercise than ever before. Knowing that the more we do this exercise, the more centered we feel and the more authentic we feel. The easier it is for us to set boundaries, to feel self-worth, and the easier it's going to be for us to be in our own frame. So let's set that intention right now. And now, let's take another deep breath in and then stare at the flame. Breathe it out. As you breathe out, feel the energy begin to move now into your hands, into your feet, into your legs. With every breath you take, feeling your body relax more and more. Put the awareness now in your left arm, your left hand. Feel it loosen up and relax. Put the awareness in your right arm, your right hand. Feel it loosen up and relax. Put the awareness now in your head. Feel your mind beginning to melt and relax, and feel the muscles behind your eyelids begin to loosen up and relax. If there's any tension in your jaw, feel it loosen up and relax. Now put the awareness in your heart. I'm going to count down from 3 to 1. With every number I count down, feel an increase of vibration inside of your heart. It may be subtle at first, but feel it begin to grow more and more as you do this exercise. 3, imagine a ball of energy in your heart spinning faster and faster, any color that you like. And imagine that the faster it spins, the more you feel this energy, the more you feel this buzz inside of your body, inside of your heart. 2, doubling that sensation inside of your heart now, feeling it increase more and more, knowing that you're sinking more into your body right now than ever before. And 1, feel that energy increase more and more, doubling that sensation of love, feeling more present than ever. And now, as you stare at this candle flame, on the in-breath, what you're going to do is focus very intently on the flame itself, and then feel inside of your body and feel the separation between you and the flame. If you're staring at a flame right now, a live flame, then feel the separation between you and that. If you're watching this video, then feel the separation between you and the flame in the screen. So let's take a deep breath in. With every breath you take in, you're feeling that separation. You're feeling safe inside of your own body. And then as you breathe it out, you can relax your gaze and focus on the peripheral. Focus on around the flame and feel connected to your environment. So with every breath in, you are feeling the separation and you're feeling the safety inside of your own body. And on the breath out, you are feeling the connection between you and the environment. So you're constantly bringing the awareness back inside and outside. Inside and outside. Inside and safe, and then feeling the outside and connected. And as you do this exercise, you are beginning to feel the energy go more and more into your bottom 3 chakras. Set the intention right now that you bring the energy down into your root chakra.
at the base of your spine. Imagine that there is a red ball of energy there. Now, put the awareness there, and on the in-breath, let's take a deep breath in, and let's feel the separation between you and your root chakra, you feeling the energy there, and the flame. So let's take in a deep breath. And then on the out breath, relax and look at the peripheral and feel the connection to your environment. Now let's move up to the sacral chakra, an orange ball of energy above and close to your belly button. This chakra represents your connection to family members, friends. This is your relationships. And what you can do is begin to feel the beauty and the safety of you feeling in your own body. Let's take a deep breath in through our nose now and feel inside of this location in our body. Breathe it out and feel that connection. Maybe bring someone in your mind that you want to create boundaries with. You still have a love for them, but maybe you need to create a little bit of separation, energetic separation. Now on the in-breath, imagine this person and feel the separation between you and them. On the out-breath, let it relax and feel connected to your environment. With every breath you take, you're feeling more centered in your body now. Take another deep breath in and do it again. And now let's move the energy up to our solar plexus, a yellow ball of energy that represents our purpose, our willingness to go out into the world and live who we really are, our willpower center. Let's take in a deep breath now and feel that separation between the flame and our solar plexus, between our heart and our belly button. And on the out breath, feel the connection to your environment. One more breath in to feel the separation between you and the flame. Connection. And now, let's set the intention that with every breath we take, we're more inside of our body. We're feeling the separation. And what we do is with the next breath, I'm going to remain silent, but on the in-breath, you're going to feel in your body, and you're going to feel the separation between you and me, the separation between you and the flame, the separation between you and everyone else doing this exercise. And then on the out breath, you're going to feel the connection to everything else. So in-breath, separation, and in your body, out-breath, peripheral, and connection to your environment. And you can even feel the separation between you and your walls in your room, you and your desk, you and your wherever you are right now. So let's now, I'm going to remain silent and we'll just focus on this energy. You may be doing this, and you may also feel different emotions come up in your body as you bring the awareness more in your body. And whatever comes up, it's perfect. You're integrating and you're allowing emotions to surface and clear. Allow whatever comes up to come up. every in-breath you take, you're bringing the awareness more into your body and you're establishing a strong frame within yourself, a feeling of safety. Take another deep breath in. You are safe. You are strong. It's an amazing feeling to be in your body. It's an amazing feeling to be in your own frame. From this point going forward, you will feel more confident than ever. You may have some emotions that come up to be cleared. Just witness them, observe them, and feel them. Allow them to come up. You are integrating back into your body. And as you feel more safe in your body, you're going to feel more safe in your reality. You'll develop more of a gravity, more of a magnetism than you've ever had before. You'll notice that you care less about what people think, that you fill up your own cup. You are still mindful of other people, but you do it from a place of empowerment, not a place of transactional energy where you want to get something from it, like validation or support or love. You are worthy for just being you. Separation is a beautiful thing. And as you start feeling in this, you're going to be more empowered than ever before. Set the intention right now that from doing this meditation for the next 21 days, your life is forever changed and you are more in your frame and in your body than ever before. Let's take another deep breath in right now to wire it in. And then let's do an Om. The Om frequency is a high vibrational energy that we can use to wire in this version of us. So first, let's take a deep breath in and out. And with one more breath, what we're going to do is we're going to Om and wire in this higher vibrational us. Feel the separation between you and me, but also feel the connection as you're doing the Om between you and everybody else doing this, knowing that you are now establishing a strong frame, and from this point going forward, you will be forever changed. So take a deep breath in. Listen to this meditation for 21 days and watch how your life begins to change. This is what I did 4 to 6 months ago, and my whole entire life has changed now, and all I did was what you just did. Consistency is where the results come. You'll notice people treat you different because you treat you different. And that's the key to this frame technique. So with that, go throughout your day knowing you're going to have an amazing day today. You are empowered and you are a unique person that can feel safe in your own body.
In this episode, I'm going to be showing you one of the most powerful realizations I've had as of the last month. This connection that I've made between understanding more about dopamine, how our pain and pleasure mechanism works in our body, and how you can totally hack this in your favor in a completely new way that helps you not only to achieve your goals faster, but in a more meaningful way, understanding from where that energy comes. So this is something that I think will plant a seed that may completely transform your life. And in this video, I'm gonna kind of talk you through my current epiphanies in a way as well, because I'm learning this as we go. I'm reading books, I've had my own inspiration from my own life experience, and I'm making connections in my mind that everything makes more sense now, and I'm excited to share that with you in this episode. One thing I want to do in these videos is more so have a conversation with you, as if I'm talking to you, because these realizations that I'm sharing with you right now are realizations that I just shared with my buddy Victor when I went to we went to get IVs the other day, where we get these health IVs. And I was excited to express this to him. But what I noticed is sometimes when I'm doing these episodes, I have kind of this
voice I put on where I'm like, welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron. Have you guys ever seen those videos where it's like, I saw one the other day where it's like an anchor woman is narrating her husband's life in her anchor voice, and he gets super annoyed by it. But it was like this funny little video. But there's some people that I notice on social media that are very good at just talking on camera as if they're talking to a friend. And I want to talk to all of you, like, you know, like we're friends. Not like I'm like, yo, my name's Aaron Dowdy, and I'm making another episode today on dopamine and how it affects your body. I don't know. Maybe that is like a cool vibe because some people can feel that energy or something. But sometimes I just want to have a freaking conversation, okay? And in this episode, the theme of this, I read a quote last night. Let me read this quote to you just to kind of get you hooked into this episode so you see where we're going with this. Now, dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the body, and it is something that is, they say it's normally the reward hormone. It's the reward hormone. And when you feel dopamine, it's like, you know, I used to take Adderall back in the day. Adderall is the prescription drug. It's pretty much legal meth. And I was prescribed it because I had ADHD. And when I take that thing, I would be so focused. And I would feel so good while taking it too. I'd feel so focused. I'd be really into whatever I was doing, even if it was something kind of boring. And which is interesting too, because from what I hear from people that do meth, they will like be in their car and like doing some, I've seen, what's this on some video or something like that on like Cops, or where they do some type of sting operation where someone breaks into a car. And there was this guy that was playing with the center console for like 10 minutes, just like super into like moving and figuring out the center console in this car. And it was really bizarre, but I can kind of relate because when I took methamphetamine, which is legal, prescribed, which is Adderall or Ritalin or whatever, I took Adderall, which is what I was prescribed back in 2012 before my spiritual awakening. I'd be super focused on whatever I was doing, but what would happen is I'd be super focused, and then what would happen is at the end of the day, it would wear off and I would crash. And that's what happens with a lot of these dopamine spikes that we have. Now, you don't have to take Adderall or any prescription drug for this. Some people, many people, like we're all addicted to dopamine in some form or another. And the dopamine is, in a way, it is like the reward hormone or the reward molecule inside of us. And I just got done recently watching Game of Thrones. I literally spent a month and a half binging out on 60 hours or more of Game of Thrones. And it was amazing up until the last season. Because if you've watched Game of Thrones, then you know what happens in the last season. I was so late on that whole thing, by the way. Years later, I was like, I know once I start watching Game of Thrones, I'm going to get addicted. I'm going to finish it. And I did. I got sick like 2 months ago, and I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to, I can't do anything else. I got that thing that was going around, still going around, but if you say it, social media and the algorithms don't like it because everything's controlled in a weird way. But basically, I realized that, so for me, dopamine, I realized this even like 4 months ago, is that I watched the show Vikings, amazing show, one of my favorite shows. Before that, I watched Breaking Bad, also an amazing show. These aren't the highest vibrational shows. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh, he seems so high vibe. I bet you he just watches this stuff that just blasts his third eye open and his root chakra just becomes so like when he watches these shows. No, some of these shows are not the highest vibrational shows, but they make you release a lot of dopamine because you get bought into the stories. So 3-4 months ago, I watched Vikings. Not even 2 or 3 months ago, I watched Vikings, binged it, watched it all, finished it, missed it. So guess what I found? I found Game of Thrones. And then I started watching that. And guess what? It took me 2 seasons to get into because there's so many damn storylines and there's so much shit going on. But by second or third season, I'm like, okay, I kind of get what's going on right now. At first, I'm like, who are these freaking characters? I was like, can we just keep it simple? I was like, Vikings only had 2 or 3 storylines going on at a time. This has 6. It's too much. But eventually what I did is I got hooked into Game of Thrones, and then Game of Thrones ended. Guess what? I'm like looking for something else now to put my dopamine into. Where can I put my energy? Is there another show? My buddy Matt's like, you got to watch The Last Kingdom. It's kind of like a mix of Game of Thrones and Vikings. I'm like, oh, maybe this is the key. Maybe if I just find this other show, then I'll have something to do at the end of the night where I work hard during the day, and then at the end of the day, I just get this big dopamine reward chemical that flows through my body.
So there's people that are addicted to shows, TV, their phones. Literally, the mechanism of scrolling through Instagram for many people is very addicting. Pornography is probably one of the most biggest addictions, where people are constantly feeling in that sense of dopamine flush through their body every time they masturbate, and people become addicted to that. There is substances. This is another huge one. Alcohol. If you look at these graphs, by the way, these waves, what happens is when you take and you start drinking alcohol, it gives you a big dopamine. Rush, and then it starts falling down after a while. Now, what happens is the more addicting something is normally the quicker you feel that dopamine spike, and then normally the harder the spike is. So if you're to do some other drug, might spike very quicker, and that's why they say, I was reading this book last night, and I'll share all this with you. I'm going to read you this quote in a second, but crack, they say that smoking crack is more addictive than cocaine because you feel it so quickly. Like I remember in the movie Wolf of Wall Street, where you see Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill smoking, and then they take it, and then immediately they're like feeling, and they want to go let's go. What do they say? They're like, let's go. They start running around, and they're going to go look for bears, or I forget. They scream something ridiculous, but they're instantly feeling that dopamine. And from that, they are feeling very alive, and then it crashes very hard. Now, the more quickly that dopamine spike happens, the more addictive something generally is, because the quicker it is that you take it, that you feel that huge spike. And that has an addictive quality. So that's another aspect of it. That one of the biggest epiphanies I've had just recently is, one, becoming aware of how addicted to things I am. And even my own sense of dopamine. And I'll share with you how society kind of rewards this in a way. And honestly, with the media and the way things are set up, it has us constantly being addicted to more and more and more and more, because then we buy more and more and more and more. But I can see now just how primed and conditioned I am. And I'm doing my best to become aware of this. And I'm not the best at it, to be honest with you. I had that stint with Vikings, Game of Thrones, all these different things. And then here I am right now in a house with a new studio. If you're seeing this on my second YouTube channel, then you'll see this background, and it's awesome. I moved about 4 months ago from Sedona to Austin, Texas. And I love Austin, Texas, because there's some more stimulation, but also it's just more practical for me because I'm close to an airport, and I'll be traveling, doing live events here, stuff like that. So I moved to down. I actually bought a house in a part of Austin. It's like downtown Austin. It's like in the middle of everything. It's awesome, old school Austin. Bought a really nice house, and I bought it off market, so I got really lucky with it. I felt like it was very synchronous, and it got me out here. But then after 2 or 3 months of being in that house, and it's a dope house, and if you've seen some of my older YouTube videos, you'll see it. However, what I realized is after about a month or two of being in it, I realized it was just too small. It was just too small for my lifestyle. In the way that I make videos for a living, it was it's a three bedroom plus an office house, but it's all in one, it's 2,200 square feet. So it's not too crazy small, but I'm also in the middle of the city, and I just felt like the energy was kind of a lot there. What I realized is basically there's this addiction to more than just this size house. I was like, you know what I really want? And before I was in Sedona, I'm like, you know what I really want? I want to be in Austin. I want to be in a different place. This is things are moving too slow. Just to get to the airport, it's an hour-and-a-half drive. Then I moved to Austin, and I'm here for a month or two, and I'm like, this house I just bought, it was a big investment. And then I'm like, you know what? I do need more space. I need I have a team coming over to my house. I'm growing my team. I'm doing all these things. And I don't think I want to be in the middle of the city. I actually want to be more in nature. So now I have a backyard with a pool, a jacuzzi, a fire pit. I have a 4,000 square foot house, much bigger than my other house. I've got a studio room, an office, 2 extra beds. I've got all this space here. And I can tell that this last week has been so stimulating for me because I had movers move everything from Sedona here. I'm renting out my other 2 houses now. And then I'm renting this house. And so I have 2 houses I own that I'm renting out. And then this house right here is what I'm renting because it just wasn't good enough. Or this is more optimal. And I do think there's some truth in this, but
I can tell that now that I'm moved in, pretty much everything is set up, but my garage still isn't set up, and I can feel this addiction, this dopamine rush in my body that's like, so let me say this. Dopamine is kind of like the reward hormone that then you feel, and it feels really good, but then you kind of crash on later. They say that is the reward hormone or the reward molecule, but it's not actually that. Dopamine is the anticipation molecule. And I've realized that in my life, I'm always anticipating something. And anything I want right now. Not tomorrow, not the next day, right now. And what I've been doing is I'm always anticipating the next thing. It's like once I do this, then I'll actually be there. My whole house is pretty much set up. I spent the money to make that happen, where I had 5 movers move everything from Sedona to here, which wasn't cheap at all, but I was like, I get it instantly. And then after being here, I've had literally workers at my house pretty much every day setting things up for this last week that I've been in this house. And I'm very grateful to be here. But even now, the garage, there's some storage stuff that needs to go to a storage unit so that I can actually work out in my garage. I've got my sauna set up. I need a TV hung up in the garage so that I can watch TV while in my sauna. All this stuff sounds ridiculous and very bougie to probably many of you. But the way dopamine works is you're always anticipating. I'm addicted to the anticipation of something new. I even recognize this when as the house was being ready, I'd walk into different rooms and imagine it being ready. Go into the garage and be like, ooh, soon this whole weight system will be set up. I'll have my squat rack up. I'll have space to work out. I now have my Tesla charger in there, so things are more convenient and easy. There's all these, the new, the next. And I've realized that I have this pattern of being addicted to anticipating something in the future. And what I want to do in this episode is merge that of both dopamine and understanding its relation to manifestation and how it also relates to wanting, to craving, to getting more, and how in society this is normally actually rewarded. If you look at someone like Kobe Bryant, to many people, is one of the best basketball players of all time. Some people, he's one of the top 2 for sure. And I would say for sure top 2. You got Michael Jordan, you got Kobe. 2 best basketball players of all time. Both of them are completely addicted to the dopamine high they get from what they do, of being the best, of being passionate about basketball. Kobe and MJ both were just totally addicted to winning, totally addicted to the dopamine rush they would get from winning, and that helped drive them to become as successful as they were. Now, let's take out good and bad from this conversation. Dopamine is simply a way that we are wired. And we are going to put dopamine into something. But I would say that, yes, being more so in putting that dopamine into being the best basketball players of all time is a better vice than that of video games. But even then, that's arguable, because you could look at someone like Ninja or these huge social media influencers that are so passionate about gaming, and people idolize them. And they're addicted to games as well. But what I'm saying is this isn't bad or good. This is about awareness. Because when I used to smoke a lot of cannabis, some people can rationalize anything. I'm not saying cannabis is bad. And I don't believe it is, actually. I believe it can be very healing. But I was smoking cannabis to escape my childhood pain. It was numbing me. It was something that when I did it, I'd instantly change my state. So I would smoke, and I had dopamine going to that. And then I was taking Adderall as well, which is a huge dopamine spike thing. But then what I would do is, after I went through a spiritual awakening where I realized how dependent I was to both Adderall and cannabis, as I started meditating. And I started to become so passionate about spiritual awakening. I started reading books. I started meditating. I developed this whole new spiritual ego. But then I started putting that into spiritual awakening and learning more about these concepts. And then there was a time when I was eating a lot of food. I was working at Barney's, New York. And then that dopamine eventually went into making YouTube videos. And I became addicted to the validation and the drive that I had to really my business. Creating YouTube videos at first, and then that translated into my business. And even now, I can see that there is I am so passionate about addiction, or not addiction, I'm so passionate about, but this is the weird thing, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm passionate about making videos, I'm passionate about my business, but I can tell how there's a fine line between addiction to obsession to just being like in alignment. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But in general, most of society has geared us to completely release dopamine. And the thing is, and that's why I think a lot of times people that smoke cannabis all day, every day, it's like there's a dopamine drain that's happening, that then you can't use that dopamine for things that actually benefit you. I'm not telling you to stop using dopamine or to like that dopamine's bad and you should feel guilty if you do. I'm saying what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to rewire our dopamine to go towards things that actually serve us long term, but also to be aware in the process so we don't let the dopamine use us. Does that make sense? It's a way of, you can use dopamine in your favor, but also dopamine can use you. And when it starts using you is when your life is out of control. So first off, let me read this because I know I keep saying that, but I want to show you the connection I've also made between dopamine, and many of you heard me talk before about increased importance. Anything we put on a pedestal, anything we make very important, we create excess importance around. What happens with that is we create anxiety, and we normally end up repelling that thing from coming into our life. If you really, really want someone to text you back, you're probably resisting them actually feeling aligned to texting you. If you feel like you really, really want a job and you go in really tense, you might find that you end up resisting that process. It works in energy dynamics. It's just anything you put on a pedestal, you create resistance around, and you end up blocking. Now, the correlation that I made from reading a book, it's called The Molecule of More. The Molecule of More, and it talks about dopamine. But it says, let me say a quote from that book. It says, in a broad sense, saying something is important is another way of saying it's linked to dopamine. Why? Because among the many things it does, dopamine is an early warning system for the appearance of anything that can help us survive. When something useful to our continued existence appears, we don't have to think about it. Dopamine makes us want it right now. It doesn't matter if we're going to like it or if we even need it at the moment. Dopamine doesn't care. Dopamine is like the little old lady who always buys toilet paper. It doesn't matter if she has 1,000 rolls stacked in the pantry. Her attitude is, you can never have too much toilet paper. So it is with dopamine. But instead of toilet paper, dopamine urges you to possess and accumulate anything that might help keep you alive. So the reason that I'm sharing this is just so you could see that this is kind of like an epiphany for me, because the difference between, in the way a lot of people go around with the law of attraction and manifestation, is they want something in their life because of some, as Abraham Hicks says, anything you want is because of the feeling that it'll give you. The thing is that these feelings, these things, you will never feel like you've actually arrived if you stay addicted to the dopamine. Now, in this book as well, one thing it talks about is these other chemicals. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the bridge between these two realities. And the reason is the molecule of more is you'll never actually be happy, because even now, I'm in a great, amazing house in a great, amazing neighborhood. I'm 10 minutes away from my best friend and his family. It's like amazing. I can feel this urging, this new thing that I'm looking for. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it really is never enough. There's a quote in that book too, where it says, if you're living in a tent at a park, you'll eventually want to live in a house. Then if you're living at a house, you eventually want a bigger house. And if you're at the top of a castle, you'll want the bigger mountain over there, house that's on top of that. It's just a process. And I think that even in love dynamics, many people, they want to attract love into their life. And what happens is they may actually find somebody that is very good for them, but then they just feel bored. Because maybe that person, it's not trauma bonding enough. There's not enough dopamine spikes. It's not enough of a challenge or a game. So it's like, that's why a lot of times in love dynamics, the first 3 months are amazing, because you're literally releasing so much damn dopamine that you're just feeling this excitement to newness, but then it becomes habitual. And after 3 months, unless you can go into this other thing I'm going to talk about, that's a lot of times when problems start to arise. That's after the honeymoon phase. And it's because there's literally been like a dopamine depletion that's been happening. So like I said, though, dopamine isn't bad. Dopamine is simply understanding how we're wired. In a way, let's get a little bit more esoteric too. What if in reality, we are infinite spiritual beings living temporary human experiences? And what happened is when at a higher level, say there's these extraterrestrial beings at a higher level that are higher dimensional, and they're like coming up with like, and they are us, by the way. That's what I believe. I believe that we are eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences, that in this 3D physical avatar body, this is in a way like a system that's been set up to where we're all these humans, but there's a certain way that we're wired, and there's a certain intention behind that. We want to extend our species. So we've programmed that when we're having sexual dynamics between each other, it feels really good. And if it feels really good, you'll be more primed to do it, to then continue the evolution of the species so that we can continue to evolve and have life experience in what we're going through. Now, in a way, what if part of dopamine, in a way it's a survival mechanism that we use, and it's a way that we've like programmed our avatars to progress, to experience more. So it's not actually a bad thing. But imagine that experiencing more, there's a limit and an exaggeration that can happen to that where you get totally lost in the process and you become totally addicted. So in a way, the molecule of more, or the molecule of dopamine in our bodies, is there for a specific purpose. So it's not bad, it's not good. It's just like emotions. Emotions aren't bad. The emotion of fear, back in the day, if none of us had fear back in the caveman days, we'd all venture out towards the mountain lions and shit, and we may not survive. Fear actually has a purpose. So it's not good or bad, it just is. It's just about becoming aware of it. And the same with dopamine, we become aware of it, because I would say that a lot of my success in life, to me, creating business like what I have in my life, the ability to have 2 houses and rent this house or whatever, that has come from dopamine. So it's not bad. But also, I don't want to glorify it. And I don't want you to think that it is the answer, because even here now in this spot, I can tell that it's not the answer. But the way that it works in our reality, Bashar also talks about this, is that we will always move in the direction of what we believe will bring us pleasure, and we will always move away from what we believe will bring us pain. Pain and pleasure and dopamine are linked. Dopamine's like the reward, the anticipation. It's like it's a hormone in the body that makes us crave more, and maybe even crave the familiar, even if the familiar is toxic. But the best thing about this is what we define as this is completely up to us. I used to find my dopamine fix when I worked that 9-to-5 job selling women's shoes and the food that I was eating. I would go to lunch every day at this place called Table 10 in the Venetian Hotel. And this place is owned by Emerald Lagasse. It was delicious. It was like 20 to 30 bucks a day I would spend on food. And I wasn't making crazy amounts of money. Just on lunch, I'd spend that. And that was a lot of money for me back then. And I was like, there was a rush that I got from eating this like delicious food, not the healthiest, of course, probably a lot of sugar in it and stuff too, but it was freaking delicious. But I'd get it there, and then I would go home and I'd watch YouTube videos, and I on my lunch break, I'd get a dopamine rush because I had vloggers that I would watch on my lunch break, and that's where I was putting all my energy. And that's where I'd get my dopamine fix. But then eventually I started making YouTube videos, and then I started to get rewarded. So at first, I probably associated pain with making videos because I'd care what people thought. It seemed like a lot of effort. But then I started to associate a lot of pleasure with that of making videos, because I started having a vision, anticipation, a dopamine spike towards me not working a 9-to-5 job and me doing what I love full time. And I lived at my dad's house. Many of you know the story. February 2017, I started making daily videos on YouTube. I was working 40 hours a week and making videos like 20, 30 hours a week. I was very busy, but I became addicted to the growth. Once I saw a video that started to go viral, after about 3 weeks, I had a video that started to pop. And I was like, it was such an adrenaline rush. I remember feeling like, oh, this can work. I started to believe in myself even more. And I started to feel like what I had to say had value. And I started to even double down on it even more. And I started making more videos and getting more ideas. And I started seeing more of the comments come in from people saying it changed their life or it gave them some benefit or whatever. And then it would fuel me. And then for 2 or 3 years, I continued to make videos on YouTube every single day, even though after 6 months, I went full time. Because once I hit 100,000 YouTube subscribers in August of 2017, it wasn't enough. I thought it was. I woke up one day, realized I had another video going viral, and that put me to 100,000 overnight. I went from 97,000 to 100,000 literally overnight. I was planning out what I was going to do for 100,000. I'm going to do this Q&A and all this cool stuff. But I was very focused on the numbers. But once I hit 100,000, that day I went to the gym thinking like this huge ego thing where like I'm like, once I hit a certain number milestone, I'm gonna have all these people coming up to me like, Aaron, I know you from YouTube. Aaron, I know you. I know you. I know you. And then what happened is I go out and it's like, feels about the same. Well, you know what? Just haven't hit it yet. 100,000 is good, but what about 250,000? That's $250,000. That's a much bigger number. And then I got there, and then it was 500,000, then it was 700,000. And it's like, oh, now I'm closer to 1 million. Then it was 1 million. It just never ends. Even now, it's like 1.1 million subscribers. But now I really genuinely have detached from caring about, I don't even check the numbers. I'm kind of aware of certain things. I'm aware that certain videos will get more views than other or whatever, but I'm not focused on it like I used to because the dopamine addiction just never ends. But I'm not saying this is even bad. I was watching a 2-hour-long Q&A interview with Mr. Beast last night because he's inspiring and he is completely killing it on YouTube. And he like studies the algorithm. He does all the shit I used to do back in the day. Study all patterns, algorithm, thumbnails, marketing, all this stuff to make YouTube grow. But for me to continue to just exponentialize on YouTube, it requires me to really live in the YouTube world and just study it and focus it on it all the time. Whereas now I'm doing live events and I'm doing other things that are separate from just YouTube. And I'm finding that to be really the best at something, you do in a way have to become all in on it. Mr. Beast will be the number one YouTuber. Right now, he's the number one growing YouTuber. He's got like 70 million followers. PewDiePie has 100 million followers or something. And Mr. Beast will surpass him because his goal is to, and now I want you to understand this about Mr. Beast too. It's funny to see his journey because Mr. Beast is like this nerdy guy from back like 5 years ago. He made thousands of videos before he started becoming like famous and doing really well. And it's interesting. He has a video where he talks about how, advice to my 5-year me or something like that. And it was like, it'd be so cool to have like 100,000 followers and all this stuff. And he's like talking to himself as if he's talking to himself in 5 years or something like that. And guess what? Like 5 years later, he's got like 10 million, 20 million, 100 million. Like it's crazy how much this guy has grown from just learning and putting out the content, right? But what I can tell is his goal is to become the number one biggest YouTuber. Now, here's something that's going to happen if he isn't too aware of this dopamine spike he'll get, because he will become the number one YouTuber. Now, and he'll make the biggest videos. He does that now. Every video he makes has over 10 million views. He makes these crazy videos. Every dollar he makes on his channel, he reinvests into his channel. So every month he's probably making $2 million, $3 million a month. Every dollar goes back into his channel because he really doesn't care about money. He cares about the growth of his YouTube channel. And he's a real genuine dude too. I think he really wants to just give away money. He likes philanthropy and stuff like that. And he's just addicted to YouTube. Now, the thing is once he gets to that of the, surpassing PewDiePie, unless he gets a new goal, he'll continue to remain, or he will have like a wake-up call where that big dopamine rush will happen. But here's the interesting thing that he says too. He just wants to make the best videos possible. Now, one is like a result. A result is a very concrete thing. Once he surpasses PewDiePie, which is like over 100 million followers, then he'll have reached his goal. But also, with that, he wants to make the best videos possible. And to do that, he has his own system set up. He's got a huge team with him now. And he's just always trying to get better. Now, that is more of an action versus the result. And that may be his saving grace.
But because he is all in on YouTube, everyone he hires is all just nerded out on YouTube, that is like something that helps his vision grow. And it's something that I can even see myself from back when I was really focused on YouTube back in the day. I can see how I was so addicted to just learning new things and all of that stuff, and it can be used in a positive way. So he's associating massive pleasure with anything that grows his YouTube channel. He's associating massive pleasure with anything that helps him learn more about how to grow on YouTube. And he's really perfected it. And he's pretty open in that interview. He was like teaching some of those things. And I found it very fascinating because a lot of it's marketing and stuff like that. But it's interesting to see how that works. Now, even me, for example, just this last 4 days, I have rewired myself where before I was kind of eating whatever I want. I go through these phases. I don't let myself get too out of shape necessarily, but I realized as of a couple days ago, I was eating certain foods and I woke up and I could just tell I'm starting to get a little bit of a gut in my stomach. It's nothing bad. If some of my friends or like people see what I'm talking about, they probably think it was ridiculous, but I can tell I'm starting to get a little bit of a gut. So I immediately decide that I'm going to go in a calorie deficit, which is just my belief system. It's my permission slip that's how I'm going to get back to where I feel a little bit tighter in my stomach and more of abs or whatever. It's what I do to feel. I feel good when I'm at that level of leanness, I guess you could say. So now I'm switching up and I'm eating less food. I'm actually counting my calories again, and I'm being very aware of what I put in my body. Now before, I would associate more pleasure and I get more dopamine from eating foods, just kind of eat what I want. There's these chips I eat that are just freaking addictive and they're so good and they're somewhat healthy, so it's easy to justify. But I feel pleasure when I eat them. And then when you eat certain sugar, many of us will be addicted to different sugar and stuff like that, but I can see how that becomes just a snowball to where then it becomes normal. But after 2 or 3 days of this like deficit, I'm starting to get used to it. But not only that, I wake up in the morning, I feel tighter, it feels better. That's the payoff I'm getting. Now, I'm associating pleasure with feeling leaner. I'm associating pleasure with like going to bed. Even though I'm going to bed a little bit hungry, I'm going to bed and it's like I'm able to, in a way, feel that there is a payoff there. And there's almost a dopamine spike you'll get from that like new way of rewiring yourself. Now, what they've shown, even with rats, is you can put a rat or a mouse on a hamster wheel or a hamster. I think I don't know what it is. But anyways, when they start becoming addicted to the hamster wheel, some of them will literally run themselves to death. Some of them will run themselves so much that you know how it's a little hamster wheel? Their tails will curve up. Like they get out, their tails are curved up because they've been running so damn much. There are people that I see at the gym that are addicted to the gym. They get a dopamine spike when they go to the gym. Now, this isn't a bad thing. It is a bad thing when it becomes you can't control it or it starts using you. But the awareness is the middle ground here. And I'm going to share with you the cure here in a second as well, the other hormones that we need to be focused on and how we can do that. But you could be releasing that dopamine by playing video games, by jerking off, by toxic relationships. You're going to release it somehow. But if you start to realize that whatever you associate with pleasure, you move towards, and whatever you associate with pain, you move away from, you can start to more so look at what are you primed by? What are you driven by? Because it can be a good thing to be driven. When you start going to the gym, like let's say you start going you've never been to the gym before. You start going to the gym at first, it's going to kind of suck. You're going to feel from going to the gym like sore. And you're like, oh, this is kind of negative. But then you're going to start going, to get an endorphin rush. An adrenaline rush. You're going to start to get dopamine, start to feel good, and then you're going to want to go more and more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you start overdoing it to where you have to always be working out, and it's like your abs, like, you know, I could see body dysmorphia and stuff happens when the extreme of it gets there. But there's nothing wrong with having goals. There's nothing wrong with having a vision. There's nothing wrong with using dopamine in a way that actually fuels you versus being used by it. The key here is to choose it. To choose what your dopamine is and to not be ran by it. Like the phones, I think, is probably one of the most addictive things. And if you were to also go on like a dopamine detox and detox some of these things in your life, you will then have the clarity, you will then have the motivation and the inspiration to put it towards your dreams.
You know what's funny is when I start dialing in on my own diet, I notice that affects different areas of my life. I get more clear on my business. I was telling Victor yesterday, my buddy, I'm trimming the fat on my body. By trimming the fat on my body, I'm like in a calorie deficit. I'm doing a little bit more cardio. And I've gone through many phases of this. I enjoy it. Actually, it makes me appreciate food more. And I'm also trimming the fat in my business. In my business, I've got like 10 products. I've got all this stuff going on, and I'm actually simplifying things now. And it's a metaphor. But my discipline becomes stronger when I do this too. And it's easier. Like I got my cold plunge set up now. I'm going to be doing cold plunge. I'm getting up, going in the sun right when I wake up. I'm just doing things with more awareness than I would normally do when I kind of get lost in a snowball effect of like eating more unhealthy food and just like wanting to looking forward mainly to watching Vikings at the end of the night or something. That changes everything. When you stop putting your energy in the stuff that doesn't really fuel your dream, you'll then have the energy to put it into other things. That's why saying no and like detoxing off of these things might be a good thing, and to actually put it in your passion. What are you passionate about? Now, here is the other side. So in the book, The Molecule of More, it talks about the dopamine, which is like the more molecule, but then there's this other one called H and N molecules. So H and N are the neurotransmitters we call the here and now molecules, or the H and Ns. Most people have heard of the H and Ns. They include serotonin, oxytocin, which is the bonding molecule, endorphins, your brain's versions of morphine, and a class of chemicals called endocannabinoids, which is your brain's version of marijuana. So that might be, I think when people become really addicted to marijuana, it's like you're getting a little bit of both. That's why there is a dopamine rush that you get, but there's also the cannabinoids in the brain thing where you're like really just okay with the here and now. I don't really need to take action. Everything's good. And that can actually be a good lesson too. It's like learning to be more present to the moment, you know? So that's what I'm saying. Cannabis even isn't bad. It's not good. It's not bad. It's neutral. Depends on how you use it. I don't personally smoke cannabis. I used to back in the day. Maybe every now and then. I've taken a hit every now and then for very special occasions. But other than that, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I like when you're really passionate about what you do and you get your dopamine from like your passion, it's a different thing. It's a totally different game. So as opposed to the pleasure of anticipation via dopamine, these chemicals give us pleasure from sensation and emotion. In fact, one of the endocannabinoid molecules is called anandamide, after a Sanskrit word that means joy, bliss, and delight. So, according to anthropologist Helen Fisher, early or passionate love lasts only 12 to 18 months. After that, for a couple to remain attached to one another, they need to develop a different sort of love called compassionate love. Compassionate love is mediated by the H and N's because it involves experiences that are happening right meow. You're with the one you love, so enjoy it. So this is the main difference that I want to share with you, and mainly the whole point of this episode. When you're doing things because of what it'll get you, because of the end result, if you're making YouTube videos so that you can have 100,000 YouTube subscribers or hundreds of millions of views or whatever, that's results-based and that is dopamine-focused. It will help you get further. It can help you. Wanting can still help, but a lot of times wanting, you're then lacking. And then by the time you get there, you realize it's not enough. You need more because you become addicted to the dopamine. Now, when you do things because it's who you are, when you do things because it's what you enjoy and you can be present with where you are and happy with where you are, that's the H and N chemicals. Bring the awareness into your body. It's like the difference. You can have passionate love, but you can also have compassionate love. Haha, a little funny play on words there, but the difference is one could be more stimulating, more energizing in an initial way, but one is more of like an appreciation. It's a different energy. And one you're more in the moment, and one's more to get somewhere. It's to get to the end result. You know, in general, what I'm learning to do is to be more present, to enjoy and realize that I can release more of these serotonin, oxytocin, and these different
neurotransmitters in the body by being present and realizing where I'm at right now is perfect. I'm in this house right now. It's great. And by bringing the energy more into the present moment and doing things and enjoying it, it changes everything. If I made this podcast episode right now and I'm like, I just want to get it over with, can I just get to the end? You would feel that rushed energy. However, if I'm more so enjoying the moment right now, then guess what? You're going to feel like you can also enjoy this moment and you're going to want to continue to listen. So this is a whole part of the teaching that I've taught a lot, is the difference between doing things for the end result and doing things for the sake of doing them or being them. It makes all the difference in the world. But one of the biggest things you can do here in today's episode I want to share with you is find your middle way. And the way you find your middle way to this is you find out what you have currently been addicted to as far as dopamine. What are your current dopamine outlets? Is it the food that you're eating? Is it sugar? Is it caffeine? Is it being addicted to your job? Addicted to the drama at your job? Addicted to working out? Addicted to video games? Addicted to laying around and doing nothing? These are all things that we may get dopamine with, our reward or anticipation molecule. But what you can begin to do is to wire it in the direction you want by first taking away some of the things that you know are not beneficial for you. Foods that may not serve you, things you may be doing that you could just tell are not beneficial for you long term. If you were to look at your life, what you do on a daily basis compounds over time. For me, I'm becoming aware of the food that I'm eating, the sugar, and as well, you can become really, really rigid with all this, but there's a middle way. Like I said, you can still enjoy life. This isn't a dark, doom, gloom thing on dopamine where I'm not saying dopamine is bad. I'm saying use it in your favor, because right now the media, the way systems are set up is it keeps you buying more. It keeps you not feeling enough. And if you don't feel worthy and you feel like you always need more, then guess what? You're going to continue to search for it. You're going to continue to buy new products, and you're going to continue to consume content that gets you and keeps you in that anticipation state. But if you start to wire yourself in a way, you can actually do it to where you create the life of your dreams. Not by getting lost in it, but when you are really passionate about what you do, you will release dopamine, but you will also release the here and now chemicals because you can enjoy the process along the way. It's not about the YouTube subscribers. It's not about the millions of dollars or whatever, hundreds, you going full time or whatever it is. It's about also enjoying this moment right now. So it's a mixture of both, but it's awareness is the razor's edge here. And what is right now, you can rewire anything in your life by becoming aware of the payoff. If you're eating unhealthy food, it's you are looking for the short-term pleasure for then the long-term pain. It's like unhealthy food. It's like I feel great for like 20 minutes, but then I feel like shit and I feel lazy. And a lot of our body, by the way, and our energy has to do with the food we're putting in our body. Put whole foods into your body. Put natural, simple foods into your body with less ingredients, like less. If you look at the ingredient things, it got 600 things in it, it's probably not the best thing. But if it's like carrots, peas, asparagus, it's like simple. It's probably much better for you because your body knows how to digest that. And a healthy gut helps, this affects every area of our life, I believe. But these are the steps you can use. Become aware and go on a dopamine detox. And start to let go of things that you're releasing dopamine with. You will naturally have more energy to pour towards your passion. And to start to make it your passion to do what you're passionate about. Make it your passion to be passionate. To read books that you're passionate about. And you'll figure it out as you start to make the search for your passion in a way. Because if you're searching for it, then it means you don't have it. The answers are all inside of you. But because I know if I say just follow your passion, you say, well, what's my passion? Become passionate about finding out what that is. And as you do, you will then see that you can then fuel you living your dream life. You'll then see that as you have that kind of energy, it affects so many different layers for yourself. But do things and really focus on being passionate and having the goals, not getting lost with them. It's still good to have the goals, still good to anticipate, but realize how often are you doing it? And can you also be happy with the here and now? Here and now. Be present inside of your body. I've been going into nature. but just taking a deep breath and just relaxing. I realized I put this pressure on myself. I got to make 3 videos a week, a podcast. I got to do all this shit every week. What if I just chilled out and realized that when I did it, if I like just focused on me being more passionate and in the moment, that naturally I'll come up with the right video ideas. Naturally, it won't feel like it's so hard to do. So that's what you can do, is become aware of both of those things.
Be it, do it, and have it. These are the 3 different words, be, do, have, that has to go within you understanding the real way that you totally transform your reality. Most of the time, the way people go about it is they focus on what they want to have, and they focus on that. And even look at the law of attraction. Look at the movie The Secret. People are like, oh, I want to have a nice car. I want to have that relationship. I want to have it. Well, having it is a side effect of first being it. Then naturally action is easy to do, and then from there you will then have the side effects of that which that version of you has. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the most powerful idea and thing that has transformed my life more than anything else. I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of the stories of how I did this. It has to do with understanding one book that changed everything for me, and then I'm also going to give you in a way a prescription, something you can do. One thing that you can do that's going to transform your life more than anything else. I promise you that if you apply it, it will change your life forever. Now, first off, if you haven't already, could you subscribe to the VAT YouTube channel? I make videos showing people how to create their dream life, how to understand more. Wow, there's a beautiful hummingbird. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then what you doing? Could you just push the subscribe button below, like this video, and like it as well, because that'll help the YouTube algorithm, I guess. That's what a lot of the cool people say now. So, first off, be, do, have. Now, you don't always get in life that which you want, but you always, 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 always get a reflection of who you are being. So instead of people focusing on what they want, or they focus on the side effects of having, focus on who you are being. And more specifically, how do you see yourself? I remember when I first got into the law of attraction, one thing that I did is I read the book. It's called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Amazing book. Talked a lot about gratitude, focusing on what you want, adding value out into the world. It's a quick little 60-page book. I read that book. I started to apply that book at the job I used to work, selling women's shoes at Nordstrom's and in salon shoes, which is like designer shoes. What I could find is that every single day you start at 0. For the day. You only get paid that which is 10% commission on the shoes you would sell. So if I sold $2,000 for a day, then I made $200. If I sold $3,000, I made $300. Well, what I did is I started to apply the law of attraction to that of the job I had. And because I could every day get evidence and feedback, what's working, what's not working, how are people responding to my energy. When I go in with the intention of adding value to people, there was a different result than when I went in the intention of hitting my own goals. There was a different energy there. And I started to get great results. I remember the first time I did this, I really focused on it. I wrote on the mirror. But again, it was a have thing, and this did happen just from, writing on the mirror. I wrote like $8,600 and some odd dollars. And the most I'd ever sold up until that point in one day was like maybe $4,000 or $5,000. I went to work that day, wasn't that busy in the morning, and then eventually after about, I'd say lunchtime, I got busy and I didn't even pay attention to my numbers. At the end of the day, about the last 2 hours, I had a friend that I used to work with that was like, I'm gonna go home to my kids for the day. Do you wanna take this customer? It was a customer that was from China, did not speak English. She just literally walked around, tried on shoes and said, okay, take this, take this, take this, take this. And it ended up being the biggest sell I ever had. And for the day, at the very end, I went and checked my number, which is like this thing that checks to see how much you sold. And it was literally within $20 of that $8,600 and some odd dollar thing. It completely changed everything. But the results weren't as, so that happened. And then after that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this every single day. So I set that intention. But guess what? It wasn't consistent. It was something that happened every now and then. I think it proved to me that there's something here, but this is what actually changed everything for me. I read a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. This is a book by Maxwell, or someone with the Maltz. He used to be a plastic surgeon, and he would notice that it took about 21 days for people to really change, unless they changed their self-image, the way they saw themselves, they wouldn't actually experience a transformation in their life. That's what he found out. You actually have to change the way you see yourself in order for you to then get a new result in your life, in order to feel differently. Even if people would get plastic surgery, they wouldn't actually feel different unless they change their mental image of themselves. And then that whole book is about how to change your self-image, because your reality on the outside is directly equal to the way you see yourself. This hit home for me. So what I did is I looked at my own self-image. I realized that I saw myself as unworthy because I had a painful past. From many of you know, 7 to 16 years old, I had an abusive ex-stepmom in my life. I didn't feel like I was worthy of much. I kept attracting similar people into my life over and over again. And I found, I also believed that I was only worthy of working a 9-to-5 job. That's what I thought I was worthy of. My reality, my thoughts, my emotions, my actions were equal to working a 9-to-5 job that I didn't like. Now, here's the game changer. What I did is I started to see myself as I let go of the old self-image. I let go of seeing myself as an average employee. I became aware. I saw myself as an average employee. Every single day we'd come into that 9-to-5 job, what we would do is there'd be like this thing that was on the board of the top salespeople from the day before. I could see where I ranked every single day. Normally I was right in the middle. Wasn't at the bottom, wasn't at the top. I was like 3 or 4 down out of like 8 people in designer shoes, and there were more people that worked in women's shoes. Anyways, I was right about the middle. I realized and became aware, read this book, and said, oh, I'm right in the middle. I see myself as an average employee. So what I did is I then changed my perception of myself. I started to see myself as a top employee. I started to see myself as a top seller. I started to then link up my body language, the way that I stand even in the department waiting for customers. I would talk to people as if I was a top salesperson. Guess what happened? Consistently, I became a top salesperson. I went from being at the bottom, or the middle, sometimes at the bottom, 1 or 2 days a month at the top, to being at the top, and then sometimes in the middle. It changed everything. When I changed my self-image, I went from an average employee to a top seller. Then I was in the autopilot mind for years. Years. I ended up going from Nordstrom's to Barney's New York, higher end place where more expensive shoes, less commission, by the way. I went from 10% to 6%, but it was a little bit easier to sell. And while there, here's another thing I became aware of. That 9-to-5 job, I see myself as having this 9-to-5 job. I know I'm not passionate about it. What I'm really passionate about is making videos, sharing content, sharing these cool ideas. So what I did is I had this feeling, this intuitive like download. I was just sitting there and it's like, boom, just got hit like that. It was like, oh yeah, if I make a video every single day, that's gonna change my life in a year. Intuitive feeling I had. And what I realized is that if I want this side hustle, because I was making a video every single month, that was it. If I want this to become my full-time, I have to treat it like my full-time. I have to put full-time energy into it. So that's what I did. I started making a video every single day, even while having that 9-to-5 job. Wasn't always easy. Sometimes at Barney's New York, we'd be open till like midnight. I'd get home at like 1 in the morning. I would film a video, record it, edit it, schedule it to go out the next morning at 10:30 in the morning, which when all the videos go out, and then get up in the morning and do it all over again. Wasn't always like that, but that's how it was for 5 or 6 months until I quit. Put in my 2 weeks, never had to work a 9-to-5 job again. I changed my self-image. And not only did I change my self-image, I embodied the actions of that. Now here's the thing that's gonna happen. Your ego is gonna throw in some doubts. Your ego is gonna say, yo, why are you trying so hard for this? This doesn't feel natural. Your ego is gonna say, here's the 2 things about your ego that your ego always wants to do. Your ego wants to, 1, stay safe. Stay safe. That's all your ego wants to do. So when you're over here like, hey, I'm gonna try making videos every day, it's like, why are you exerting all this energy? Don't you just wanna, what if you put yourself out there and people judge you? What if you do this and then your friends and then it gives you all of these things. And then it says, hey, it gave me excuses too. It was like, hey, what about what people think? What about equipment? You don't have the right camera equipment. You don't have this, all these different excuses that held me back from actually doing that because my ego just wanted to stay safe. And its idea of staying safe isn't just like, oh, I have the bare necessities, the simple. No, it's not just that. The staying safe has to do with more than just your house. It has to do with your definition of who you are. Your ego is the old self-image that's saying, hey, you're doing things that I don't understand. So what you have to do is you have to become aware of your self-image and realize it's just a safety mechanism. That's all your self-image is trying to keep you safe. And it wants to be right. Your ego just wants to be right. And if you're trying to be right about like, oh, this isn't meant for me, then your ego will try to sabotage you. See, if you see yourself as making $50,000 a year, single, not able to attract a relationship, then that will be a reality that is equal to what you experience. So One thing that I did recently, just to prove, like, your identity is flexible. You can change it at any moment by making a new choice about who you are. You can choose to see yourself as however you prefer to be. I used to have what is called ADHD. People would tell me, oh, Aaron, you got so much energy. You're always acting this way. You have ADHD. You should take some Adderall. So I went to a doctor, and the doctor said, hey, here's some Adderall. Got it. And then I'd be really focused while I was at work, but I would crash at night. And then I would eventually, I had to balance that out. I had to smoke a lot of weed because the side effects of weed are you can eat and sleep, and the side effects of Adderall is you couldn't eat, you couldn't sleep. So that's how I balanced it out for years. And then eventually I learned meditation. Meditation changed my self-image. I literally went from seeing myself as somebody that had too much energy. I redefined it, I reframed it and said, I just have a lot of energy. You know what I need to do? Go walk barefoot on grass. That's sometimes what I do. I walk barefoot on grass to balance out my energy. But I've redefined myself. And then I took on a new identity. The spiritual guy that meditates became my new identity. And this is one of the reasons I said, I think like somebody that does yoga, it can be powerful for somebody that's not that fit and wants to get into fitness to do yoga, because eventually they're going to start to see themselves as a yogi, as like somebody that goes to the yoga things, buys like the Lululemon, like $80 or no, like $150 shorts and pants, and then what they do is they go to like these classes and they're like, you know, and that's cool, but it changes the identity. That's what's powerful. So the most important thing you can do is challenge your old identity and realize it's flexible. You can give yourself permission. I looked up the definition of permission the other day. It means to authorize. You can authorize yourself to be the new identity, to be it, to be how you prefer to be, to see yourself as the way you want. You don't just create art every day. You are an artist. You are an athlete if you are doing something athletic every day. See yourself as the identity. I saw myself as a YouTuber when it was cheesy and corny to say, hey, I'm a YouTuber. I only have like, 300 followers, but I'm a YouTuber. And people are like, yeah, you got 300 followers, bro. Because I saw myself as that identity. And now look, things in my life has changed quite a bit. So another thing you can do to challenge your old identity is something called a stretch experience. I did some pretty embarrassing things recently. I went into Whole Foods, okay? What I did is I grabbed this beautiful artichoke and I proposed to it, gave it a huge speech in front of a whole bunch of people that were in the produce section, and I asked it to marry me. And then at the end, when the artichoke obviously said yes, I said, yes, she said yes. And then a couple people clapped, they thought it was funny. And then a couple people were just like staring like, what the f is going on? There's a little bit of both. Another thing I did is I convinced two ladies at a grocery store to help me find my purple ferret. I lost my purple ferret. Can you help me find it? They helped me for like 5 minutes find my purple ferret. I didn't enroll them in that, okay? There was these different things to do to break out of the identity, to break out of the comfort zone. The fear you feel is only the ego that's trying to stay safe and it's trying to stay right, the way it defines itself. When you do that, you feel alive too. Let me tell you, you do a stretch experience, you will feel alive. And you have this contagious energy, and you start to realize that all your fears, they're just self-projected things that you don't really need to worry about. Okay, I'm gonna kind of bend down here for these last things. So the one thing you can do every single day that will change your life the most is a combination of two things. One, have a vision for what that is. You don't know exactly what it is, it can change. It's okay. Remember, your self-image is flexible. You don't have to set it all down. It doesn't have to be that way forever. You can see, like I was a YouTuber for 3-4 years. I still am making YouTube videos, but guess what? I'm changing my identity. I now want to do live events. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, but I'm gonna do that in my own way, okay? Seeing myself differently, embodying this new energy. The thing that changes your life the most is do one thing every single day and see yourself as that version of you, and do it every single day no matter what, and it must be tied to your passion, because that's what's going to allow you to do it every single day easily. If you are doing something you're not passionate about because it's something you want to have, you're like, well, I want $1 million. So I'm gonna I did that once when I wanted to learn passive income. I learned how to do Kindle publishing, and I was not passionate about it. And I did it for a week, and I was like, man, screw this. I'm not passionate. I don't like it. It wasn't something I enjoy doing. Make sure this thing is connected to your heart, and start to see yourself as that identity. See yourself as that identity. Do that one thing every day. If you're an artist, create art every single day. If you're figuring out what your purpose is, read new books every day. Set the intention to figure it out. Make it your full-time job to find your purpose, and not finding your purpose like it's outside there and you just gotta find it. It's inside here. Go within, meditate and stuff. Just observe your thoughts and stuff. And 90% of transformation is just awareness and stuff. Okay? This is really all it is.
This is all about being it, doing it, have it. You change your identity in any moment. You just got to make a new choice about who you are. You make a new choice about who you are. You wire it in every single day with one action. You will eventually see yourself as that version of you, but lead from that place. The other important thing is you're not doing this thing to get something else, to have something else. You're doing it because it's who you are. You are being that ideal version of you. What if I told you that there's an easier way to reprogram your subconscious mind, which actually doesn't have to do with reprogramming your subconscious mind at all, that when you begin to apply, changes everything in your life? Because here's the thing, our subconscious mind is at the level of reasoning on the scale of vibration, which I'll be sharing with you in a minute. And because we're trying to change our subconscious mind from the level of reasoning, from the level of mind, that's why it's something that is so hard to do. We're trying to change something that runs 95% of our life. However, there's something more powerful that I want to share with you that when you begin to do, changes everything about your life. Now, on this video, I'm going to share with you something way more powerful than reprogramming the subconscious mind. And I'm going to show you how to apply it easily. Now, first off, let's understand why we want to go beyond the mind. Why the mind can only get us so far, and when we get into a state of consciousness of being at what is called love or above, these higher vibrational emotions, that's where we begin to bring magic into our life. That's where we have this ability to manifest things easier than ever, and it's because we're in a higher vibrational state. Now, a lot of times what's emphasized as well when we say, I'm not good enough, I want to be better, I need to reprogram myself because I'm not good enough, is we are emphasizing an old identity. There's a way that we've been thinking, feeling, and acting in reality. And based on the autopilot mind of the way that we've been thinking, acting, and feeling, we have the reality that we're experiencing now. Our reality on the outside is a reflection of how we think, feel, and act. Now, when we say, I'm not good enough already, and what we do is we emphasize trying to change this version of us, that's where it becomes hard, because then 95% of our subconscious mind is running our life. And because we continue to try, we are implying the old identity. We're implying that we're not good enough already. And because of that, we're in a way bringing the old identity into the mix over and over again by emphasizing, I'm not good enough. I want to be better. If I had more money, I'd be better. If I accomplished XYZ, I'd be better. If I didn't have these limiting money beliefs, I'd be better. But there's a more powerful way that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. Now, first off, if you've never heard me talk before about the book Autobiography of a Yogi, it is a book by Paramahansa Yogananda. He is coined for bringing yoga to the West from India back in, I believe, the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And he is, in his book Autobiography of a Yogi, you see him go through, he talks about how he went through different enlightenment experiences, his life in general, and some of his interactions with other people that were considered enlightened that could literally do magical things. They could do things like manifest instantly. His mom manifested a locket in her hand when one of the enlightened gurus told her that she would, and that she would eventually give that locket to Paramahansa Yogananda. There were times of putting ideas in certain other members of people's heads, like ideas like come pick me up at the train station at this time. That was Sri Yukteswar, who was Paramahansa Yogananda's guru, and it was a message that was relayed telepathically. There have been many other instances in that book of things like that happening, things that we would consider to be magic. And you read that and you can feel the authenticity of the book. And then it starts to raise these questions. Why could these people do things that we literally would think are impossible? And the reason being is because they've raised their level of consciousness and they knew something that we didn't know, or that we're not maybe even aware of. And I went to Bashar recently. If you guys don't know, I talk a lot about Bashar. I went to one of his conferences recently and I asked him a question. I asked him about enlightenment and belief systems. And one thing he said is that the reason these enlightened people could do these things we consider to be magic is because they knew that reality is an illusion. They knew it, and because they knew it, it had more flexibility within their control. And they were able to then do things that we would consider to be magic. Now, when we're talking about instant manifestation, when we're talking about reprogramming our subconscious mind in general, we have to become aware of our level of consciousness, because here's the thing.
At these different levels, which by the way, this comes from the book called Power versus Force, you will see at the bottom, you'll see shame, fear, guilt, anger. You will then see at 250 is neutrality. At 350 is acceptance of the present moment. You have willingness, and then 400 is reasoning. Between 4 and 500 is science. It's the reasoning, it's the mind. That's where we've reprogrammed and we've programmed our subconscious mind to be thinking in a certain way. And then we have that of love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. Love, joy, peace, and enlightenment is a higher vibrational state. And I'll tell you that because I do what I love, I'm really passionate about making videos, that's raised my vibration more than anything else. Now, however, when we become aware of the beliefs we have, what do I believe to be true because my beliefs create my reality, that's between 4 and 500 on the scale of consciousness. And between 4 and 500 is where our subconscious mind is. Now, what we can do is we can go about manifesting what we want and changing our subconscious mind and then experiencing a change in our reality. And I'll share with you how to do that too. I'll share with you how to do that, plus the better way that I recommend that we go about this when it comes to reprogramming our subconscious mind. Now, first off, these vibrations, by the way, were done using kinesiology, which are muscle testing. The muscles are connected to our subconscious mind, which Dr. David Hawkins was able to show that we can test the validity and the truth of certain things, so true or false questions. Through that, that's how he came according to this scale of consciousness, and it's a very well-known, Abraham Hicks uses it, Power versus Force is a very well-known book, and it's used for knowing different things and different vibrations. For example, you can calibrate alcohol. Alcohol resonates at 275. We got weed, resonates at 350, which is acceptance, which is funny because when you smoke, you accept the moment. However, what I find is there's many things that actually, in a way, cap our vibration and keep us from raising our vibration. And the key is becoming aware of that, because when you become aware of it, that's when you can then actually change it. So everything, rock, heavy metal music will resonate at a certain frequency. It's funny, classical music resonates at 450 or in the 400s, which is reasoning. When people listen to classical music, they tend very much to like being intellectual, and it's a funny correlation there. And then love, joy, peace, and enlightenment is where things reality begins to become much more magical. Now, let me show with you, and let me switch the camera angle so it's a little more exciting. One sec. All right, new camera angle. Now, this, I'm gonna share with you a little bit about how the subconscious mind works. I'm gonna show you how to change it from that level, and then how to go about this deeper, something else that I recommend we do. Now, first off, let's understand that the subconscious mind at the level of reasoning is something that is influenced primarily in certain brain state activities. So there's different frequencies inside of our brainwave patterns are, and when we're in certain brainwave frequency patterns, that's when our mind is more like a sponge, and then there are times when we get into different states to where it's less like a sponge and it's much harder to change. Now, here's what we have. So right here, let me go ahead and, we have that of the theta state. The theta state is between 0 and 7 years old. That's when we're primarily in a theta state. That's where our subconscious mind primarily is. In the theta state, we are literally a sponge absorbing information around us. Our parents may tell us something, we absorb it. We may see some dynamic between our mom and our dad, we will absorb that, and that's where we're completely programming ourselves. Now, when we turn about 8 years old to about puberty, we're in mainly an alpha state. An alpha state is like when we watch the TV or something, what happens is we get into a very relaxed state, and we're then in between. Sometimes when we meditate, we're also in an alpha, sometimes a theta state during meditation. But between 8 to puberty, we're in mainly an alpha state. And then between puberty and adult, that's when we go primarily in a beta state. Now, going from theta to alpha to beta, each one of these, it's less likely to reprogram the subconscious mind. This is completely the conscious mind, and what happens here is only 5% of this runs our life. 95% of this runs our life. So the key is, because we've programmed ourselves between 0 and 7 years old, what can we do to reprogram our subconscious mind? Well, luckily, there's a window. There's a window of time, 20 minutes right when we wake up in the morning, 20 minutes right before we go to bed. When we go to bed at night, we are drifting from beta to alpha to theta. That half an hour, that 20, 30 minutes we have, is when we can program the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind thinks in terms of images and feeling.
not just words. Images and feeling. That's why it's important to feel what you want as you fall asleep at night. When you wake up in the morning, you are going from a theta to an alpha to a beta state. So anytime you're in this theta state, and also deep meditation can really help as well. Deep meditation, here, one second. Deep meditation will help you to reprogram your subconscious mind, because deep meditation will put you into a theta state. Now, that's the most powerful way that I found to reprogram the subconscious mind. And there's 3 other ways as well. Bringing awareness in. The more aware you become of the subconscious means under the conscious, sub like a submarine, under the conscious, the more that you bring things that were in the dark into the light, the more aware of it you become, you can then choose something else. So that's something to become aware of as well. You may have a story about relationships, a story you tell yourself about money, a story you tell yourself about reality in general. And the story you tell yourself that 95% of the mind is controlled by the subconscious mind and it's very hard to change. That will keep things hard to change. Now, the other way we go about changing our subconscious mind is changing our daily habits. I look at my own life, and the reason I live in a nice house, get to do what I love for a living, is because at a certain point I changed my daily habits from going into a 9-to-5 job I wasn't passionate about, selling women's shoes, to making daily videos on YouTube. That habit changed my identity. Understand that our identity, the way we see ourselves, is on autopilot. We will do everything we can to remain consistent to the way we see ourselves. If I were to keep seeing myself as a 9-to-5 person that works a 9-to-5 job, I would keep staying in that reality. I changed my habit of the way I viewed myself by making videos every single day. That changed my identity. When I look at, even when I used to have that 9-to-5 job, I was selling women's shoes, there was a moment when I saw myself, I realized, I became aware of my story. I became aware that I saw myself as an average employee. What I then did is I changed that way of seeing myself, and I started to see myself as a top salesperson, and I started to then do a daily habit of seeing how much value I could add to customers. I would then help them, and I would do everything I could to pick up customers and to have a positive mental attitude, and that took me from a mediocre employee to a top salesperson in my department. You see, that's the key, is being aware of your current self-image and then wiring in the new with a daily habit. That's why they say the way you change your subconscious mind is through repetition, repetition, repetition. And the only way to really do that is through some daily practice that I have found. So if you want to be an artist, make art every single day. That will begin to change your identity. Now, something that is even more powerful that I'm recommending over all this subconscious mind stuff, I'm showing you like the 101 to all this subconscious mind stuff. What I found to be even more powerful is something that I'm going to share with you that has to do with meditation on identity. For example, let me share with you a story of this. Now, there was this lady that came to one of my buddy Victor Odo. He had a retreat in Sedona. And I told him that I was going to Sedona a certain week, and he said, oh, can you come by and speak at my retreat, do a quick talk? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I came, I did this quick talk at his retreat, and afterwards, there was like 20, 30 people there, and some of the people knew and recognized me from my channel, and I did a talk, and that was cool. And then there was a lady that came up to me after that I talked to, and she was really cool. She was in crutches, and what she explained to me was that she got into a car accident and was told by doctors that she would never walk again. That was the story they told her. She believed that story for a period of time. Then what happened is she came across some of my videos, and she found a video that was on a meditation that was walk into a parallel reality. Now what this meditation did is this meditation gets people to a very deep level of relaxation, a very deep level into the theta state. And then what happens is you're able to walk in and become the version of you that you prefer to be. Now, she did this meditation, and when she was at this retreat, she was walking in crutches. She had crutches, but she was walking. She was doing something doctors never told her she would do again. She said that after doing that meditation, the walk into a parallel reality, which was kind of a play on words too, because she was told she could never walk again, after doing that meditation, she claims that now she can walk again. And that meditation was what allowed her to do it. Now, the reason I'm sharing you this with this is because it's a very powerful story of showing, like, for me, that blew me away. I had no idea that the meditations could go that far. I mean, I knew that meditation is powerful. I knew that there was a lot of things it could do, but for somebody that was paralyzed to now being able to walk, or that was told they never walk again, that is now walking, let alone, walking with crutches, but still walking, told that she would never be able to do that, and now she's able to do that, that is incredible to me.
And from knowing that story, it really touched me, and it really made me understand the power of meditation and the power of identity. You can live according to the rules you give yourself. And when people tell you that you can't do something, question it. When people tell you you can't do something, you can always go within yourself to see what actually resonates with you. What is more powerful than changing your subconscious mind is understanding that what you can begin to do is to question your reality, to question what people tell you, to question the old you, the old story, the old patterns. And when you question it from the level of reasoning, you then become free from it. You then say, why do I believe that money is hard to make? Why do I believe this? Why do I believe that? You'll find that most of your beliefs, most of the things you believe, come from your parents or come from one experience when you were young that you just decided this is the way reality is. A lot of this is about taking responsibility for things we agreed to at the past. These are all agreements that we've made at subconscious levels. Now, changing your subconscious mind, though, here is the key to this whole process of what I think is more powerful than changing your subconscious mind. First off, we're telling ourselves a story of who we are. Every single day we tell ourselves a story. We think the same thoughts every day, feel the same emotions every day, do the same things every day, therefore get the same reality every single day. Now the key to this is knowing that every single day we are recreating ourselves to be the same person day in and day out. Recreating ourselves to be the same person day in and day out. And because of that, we continue to experience the same reality. Now realize that's the old you. There's a new you, the one that you prefer to be, that is thinking, feeling, and acting and equal to the reality you want. If you look at this version of you and you find one that's connected to your heart, because remember, when we're talking about that scale of consciousness, we're talking about that of love and above. And to get to the vibration of love, what we want to do is we want to become aware that our vibration is that of something that we are passionate about. When we are doing something that we are passionate about, of love and above, that's where, love and above, that's where our vibration is going to be the highest. That's why I make videos every single day, because I'm so passionate about it. Now here's the key. Just decide that this is who you are now. There are meditations that will help you to wire this in, and maybe, yes, it brings you into a theta state and it helps with this process. But like Jackie did, which is the lady's name that was able to completely go from paralyzed, told she was never going to walk again, to walking again, what that shows is what we can begin to do is to surrender the story that we tell ourselves and then just decide this is who we are now. That's what the meditation pretty much did. Is it just, you walked into this visualization, you walked into this door, this new parallel reality, and that's who you are now, and that's what gets wired in. If you want to listen to that meditation, by the way, I'll go ahead and put a card right here where you can see that, and then also I'll put it as an end card as well, so after this video you can watch that. However, you can change the story you're telling yourself and think, act, and feel the way you prefer, and just decide that's who you are now. That's your new identity. When I look at my own life, I just decided I am a full-time YouTuber. And the thing is the level of love, you do things for the sake of doing it, not because it gets you anywhere else. From the level of reason, you do things because it'll get you something. So for example, I make daily videos on YouTube because it's who I am. It's the vibration I prefer to be. And that's the key, because a lot of times people will try to change and then they'll be waiting for the reflection on the mirror. It's like going over to this mirror right over here and it's like, oh, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change this reflection. And then it's like I'm waiting, and as soon as that reflection changes, then I'll change. But that's not the way it works. We have to change first, smile, and then notice that as we smile, that smiles. But I can't wait for that reflection to change. In the same way in reality, that's exactly how it works. We must do things for the sake of being it. Be it for the sake of being it. Create art every day as an artist because it's who you are, not because it'll eventually get you your art gallery studio. The paradox is, of course, that's where it can lead, but you do things for the sake of doing them because it's who you are. You don't get in life that which you want, you get in life that which you are.
This video right here, this is one of the most powerful videos that I made, and I highly recommend that you watch it because it'll help you with what you learned in this video. The degree to which you are detached is the degree to which you have power. Remember that. Detachment is power. And when you talk about the vibration of